Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today, as always, I'm joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben, and indeed everybody. How are you all doing?
How are you all doing? Pause to allow them to respond.
Oh, that's good to hear. Oh, sorry that isn't so good at the minute. I hope things get better soon. All the people that are just in the middle, good.
Please cross off as applicable. I like that when someone sends a really long text and the response is, "I ain't reading all that, but I'm happy for you."
Or just
Slash,
okay, full stop.
I ain't reading all that, but I'm happy for you. Slash, upset that happened. Apologies. What I like to do is to make that, instead of sending a big old paragraph of text, I'll rapid fire a few big ones off. You know, not a big old paragraph with no punctuation. That's not fair, is it?
No punctuate. You mean punctuate it properly? If you're going to write a big thing, at least structure it. Put a beginning, middle, and end like any good story.
Yeah, and if somebody sends you a voice note, what I like about WhatsApp is you can listen to it on 2 times speed,
Perfect. Get it
which
all
is
out.
great. Someone sends you a 4 minute voice note, you're like, bloody hell, Jesus, do I want to listen to this? And I've listened to some voice notes from people in 2 times speed for so long, I forget what their real voice sounds like. Just sound like a really fast chip. I'll see him in real life and I'll go, all right, God,
You're talking slow.
speak a bit quicker, for God's
Had a
sake.
brain injury. Bloody hell.
Embarrassing. Yeah, so just the two of us this week as October begins. Can you believe it's October? I can't believe it.
Where has the year gone, eh? Has it gone ever so quick?
It's gone
Into the
ever so quick.
spookiest season once again, and we've started a big 31 days of Halloween countdown.
Are you feeling spooky though?
I mean, I'm always feeling spooky 24/7, 365, or 6 on leap years.
I'm trying to get myself in the spooky mood. I've got a candle, a pumpkin spice candle, which I think I've just become accustomed to the smell of it now because I've had it going for a few days. Not constantly,
Bloody
you know. I
nose
do.
blind.
I've got a bloody nose blind to it. It could be anything in there. It could be hot shit, and I wouldn't know
I've got my
the
hot shit
difference.
candle on.
Got me hot shit candle on. I don't know if I'm feeling spooky yet. You know, need to get some more decorations on the go. Need to. I mean, I want to say need to watch a horror movie every day, but that is essentially my life. So
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
how much more spooky I can get.
yeah. I guess it's the same, but I just have to maybe I'll set smart speakers up to make and a witch's cackle come on every few hours just at random.
Oh, I don't know if I like that. That'd be a bit strange. But yeah, we're obviously celebrating. Last week we didn't even know what films we were going to be covering for October, so we've confirmed our October lineup.
What a powerful
Um,
line. Very well done, Ben. I had very little input on that one, apart from saying yes, thumbs up.
incredibly powerful. I think we've covered a lot of big hitters, and surprising that some of these films we haven't covered before. So, of course, this week we're covering. I mean, as you listen to the episode, you will know, but Trick or Treat, not to be confused with Trick or Treat, which a lot of people do confuse those two films. And this film wasn't even originally called Trick or Treat, was it? I think in some areas it's called Ragman,
The Ragman.
which the Ragman, no, and Death at 33 RPM as well in foreign markets, apparently. So that's this. I wanted to cover this film for ages. I've never seen it before, and after seeing it on In Search of Darkness, I don't know if it's part one or part two. I was like, oh yeah, I need to check that out. That looks banging. Obviously, with some amazing cameos as well. It just looked right up my alley. So looking forward to that. Well, I've seen it now, but looking forward to talking about it.
See what it does to
Uh,
that rating. Will it bring it up? Will it bring it down? We'll find out.
Next week, Exorcist Believer is out. Can you believe it?
I am.
Can you
I'm an
believe?
Exorcist believer. I
Are
am.
you an Exorcist believer?
I am fully
We've got.
cognizant of the fact and have no doubts that it is indeed coming out next week. And we'll see it.
Yeah, it is indeed. I don't know where my hype is at for it. I think my hype is leveled out quite considerably. I don't know why. I don't
Yeah,
know why.
I think it's one of those things like The Exorcist, because of the status it has amongst horror films. Like, I don't think anyone is going to see it thinking, "Oh bloody hell, Exorcist One in the bin, rubbish, nothing in
Exorcist One.
comparison."
I'll never need to see it again. Exorcist One.
Got Exorcist Believer now, so like I think it'll be good. I think it'll be interesting. If nothing, I think it will be a competent possession movie. Like whether
Yeah.
whether or not you come out with good grand things saying, "Oh, it's really worthy of the Exorcist title," but that's neither here nor there anyway. Like, don't put so much weight in it. I think it'll be fine. I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
seeing it and seeing how it plays out. I think the trailer was certainly interesting. See what rude
Yeah.
things those possessed kids say. But they're ever so
See how
rude.
rude.
I bet they say so many rude things.
Oh, piss you. I'll get to hell and back. Something like that.
Yeah, I bet they will. I bet they will say some things. Actually, you know what? I'll bring it up now. I've seen three, so I think three examples in the last couple of weeks, which are films with people from North America saying the word twat, and it just doesn't work.
Twat.
They can't say it properly.
They say twat, don't they? Why'd you do that? I mean, I'm sure it's things that British people pronounce that Americans think is ridiculous. They're incorrect, of course.
Yeah, because it's called bloody English, mate. That's why.
It's called the bloody Queen's English, mate. That's what it's called. You're speaking the Queen's English.
No, but the only word in the world, like, I think if I was writing any type of script for North Americans to say, I would just not include the word twat unless it's a British person that's saying it.
I don't think you would. I don't think.
Oh, that's fine.
I don't think it feels like the kind of word that anyone other than Brits kind of say. Oh, you twat. You know what I mean? Like
when you soften the A and it sounds a bit like an O, it sounds like you're, it's like you're going, oh, sugar instead of shit. It's like you've turned it into not a swear word anymore.
It sounds like a completely different word. I forget that it's the same word. Twat. I don't know how often I use twat. I might use twat when I'm driving. Oh, you twat! When I'm trying to like mix it up.
I feel like that's one of those ones you can get away with quite early, because I think certainly growing up there was a different context. If you were talking about, I've just twatted myself right in the head. Good. If you're using it as a means for being like physically knocking yourself on something or bashing your head or bashing something, I'm gonna twat you in a minute. Then
I'm gonna absolutely twat you.
I feel like at least in my house growing up, that wasn't taken as such a swear word. That's your first step after you've got away with the gateway drug that is bloody.
What about when you're in a household who could still consider bloody and crap on the same level as things like actual swear words? That's confusing.
I mean, if that happens to you, I mean, live your own lives and everything, but in the same breath, leave that family. It's not good for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Do divorce them, get emancipated.
Obviously, bollocks is good as well, because you can use bollocks in many different ways. You can get bollocksed. You can beat a dog's bollocks. You can get a bollocking. Bollocks is drunk. Getting a bollocking is being told off, and the dog's bollocks is basically being shit hot.
Being the best.
And there's probably more than that. Very, very interesting. We could talk all day about this. But yeah, Ex's Believer, returning guest Ash Millman is coming back on the show for the first time since she joined us to talk Terrified, which is exciting. I thought it'd be good for us to talk about a new release with her. And then after that, we're covering Christine, which is being shown at the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival, which I am attending. Looking forward to that. Seeing it on a big old IMAX screen. That should be great. Fun. Bloody killer car. Jesus. Calm down, Christine.
Be careful.
And then week 4, Deep Red, Giallo classic with Sarah of Horror. If you listened to the Fright Fest episode, we caught up with her right at the tail end of that on the last day. It was weird because we realized, like, I knew her from like Instagram and a few other things. She was sat right behind us. I don't reckon she was there the whole time because there was like men behind us at one point, and she's not that.
Yeah, like in a cunning disguise, so people don't recognize her in the cinema.
Possibly. So that's week 4, and we've wanted to get her on the podcast for a while, so that's exciting. And then week 5, Halloween free Season of the Witch. We're going to adjust our release day slightly. Obviously, we usually release episodes on a Wednesday, sometimes a bit later, but we're going to pull it back to a Tuesday because that is Halloween itself. So Halloween free Season of the Witch. The completionists in us causing all types of havoc, not haddock, because we've never covered Halloween 2. So we've done lots of Halloween
to overlook it given the circumstances of Season of the Witch.
let's overlook it just this one time. Well, we could do it again, surely. So yeah, October is looking stacked, super stacked.
Absolutely chockers with horror movies. Plus, everything else you're going to be watching. I've seen, Ben, you put out the Horror Hangout 31 Days of Halloween, where if you want a suggestion of a movie to
Yes.
watch, you've got some old episodes that you can have a listen back to if you've got the time.
Yeah, so we've curated a list based on the last 12 months of the podcast, like some of our favorite episodes from the last 12 months, for 31 days of horror hangout, so you can watch a film that we've recommended per night, and then of course the new episodes fit in nicely to that as well. Yeah, I think it's the third year we've done this. So if you have done it in the past, or if you're doing it now, let us know if you're watching any films for the first time, and enjoying them. We're always keen to know. Give us
Or
a
not
little
enjoying
shout.
them. Sometimes you get the best content.
Yeah, if we've given you a recommendation for a bad movie, to be fair, it's not like we're recommending all the films on the list. We're kind of recommending the films alongside the podcast episode. So even if it's a bad film, if you'd listen to it with the podcast,
You'd have a lovely time.
if you watch it and then listen to the podcast, sorry, you're gonna have a lovely time. We can guarantee that. So yeah, October, how exciting. How many Octobers have we done on this podcast? Is this the 6th or the 7th? Maybe the 7th October?
Yeah, it's getting on, getting up there, isn't it? 300 episodes now. Several.
Bloody hell. Crazy. Okay. Got a couple of, obviously we've covered that, which I've already listed as horror news, but a couple of things. Heard of this movie called Totally Killer, which is coming out this month? Blumhouse's time travel slasher.
I have heard of this. Now, what is it coming out on? Is it a cinema or is it a streaming release?
I think it's a streaming release. It was showed at Fantastic Fest, and there is some sort of review based on it. But yeah, the plot, the review is very, very, very positive. And again, like a Blumhouse, it's got what's her name from God, from Sabrina, the new Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Kin and Shipka?
Yeah, I think so. But
Yes,
it's a horror comedy. Apparently, it's got lots in common with the like Happy Death Day films, Happy Death Day to You. So sort of like it's a time travel slasher, sort of like subgenre. I guess like, yeah, time loops are very popular at the moment. Time travel within horror as well, the horror sphere. It's pretty good. I think it's set in 1987.
Oh, the best year.
I think there's a time travel back to 1987, teaming up with her teenage mother to stop murders before she's trapped in the past forever. Oh, there's been a murder. Better get the old time machine out. We've all been there. Yeah, looking forward to that. Well, we'll definitely be checking that out. And also, there is a trailer now for the Toxic Avenger, a Red Band trailer. Don't know if you've seen it, but
I haven't seen it yet.
The vibe it's going for looks great. It's very much in keeping with the original, but also it's got a bit of like hobo with a shotgun sort of vibes, I guess.
Okay.
But it's mainly like news footage of like, oh my god, there's an Avenger we've been spotting this Toxie. He's been taking people down, and yeah, it's mostly that. And then there is a scene where somebody gets their jaw ripped off, and again, we don't really see much. You only see the sort of silhouette of the Toxic Avenger, and you don't really see any of the other sort of major names who are also involved. I know we've seen a picture of Elijah Wood looking like the Penguin. Kind of looks a little bit like the Penguin.
Can I bet on the Penguin? Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to that when it gets released, which is sometime soon.
I will have to check out that trailer, I think.
Every story I've got open does not give me actual dates. I need legitimate dates of when these things are happening, but soon is what I'm saying for now. But that's pretty much all I had for horror news, based on the fact that we're going to talk about October as well. And it's only really been a few days since we last recorded, but have you seen anything this week?
I'll tell you what, Ben, I've got through a couple. I've got through a couple. So one, I know that we've both seen. Let's mention it because we'll have some content coming up on this one. But we have both now seen a movie, courtesy of its makers, that will be hitting cinemas in the next couple of weeks. Dear David.
Yeah, I think it's the 13th of October, and I think it's streaming as well at the same time. Not sure about UK release, but I'm pretty sure we mentioned this on the show at some point, maybe when it was confirmed that it was going to get made. But you have just recorded a interview with the director John McPhail, which is going to be a little bonus episode that we're going to put out maybe this week, just before the release of the film.
We just caught I just caught John for 15 minutes, so this is even beyond the
Bite size.
bite-sized episode. This is just little fun size, like the little chocolates that you'll get on Christmas, not Christmas, also Christmas, but on Halloween, horror Christmas.
Tiny
got
little
that
Mars bar.
little fun size bite with John, who you may recognize the name if you love This Is Why I've Got Christmas on the Brain, the
Yeah.
Christmas horror comedy musical, Anna and the Apocalypse. Is John is the director of that as well. That was his previous film project.
Amazing.
But just at the moment, while that was hitting cinemas in 2017, the real life events that inspired this film were taking place.
Yeah. And I remember following along with these events in real time in 2017 with the BuzzFeed cartoonist Adam Ellis telling us a story about his apartment being haunted by a little fella called David. And he did a little picture of him as well, which is recreated in the film. So we've both seen the film. Not really going to say much about it because we don't want to before the release, but very, very interesting. A sort of horror comedy.
Come and check out my interview with John. You'll hear a little
Check
bit
out the
more
interview
about it from them.
To find out more. And 13th of October is when it's released, so check it out then. Yeah, and it's got that sort of trademark humor that Adam Ellis sort of added to his story when he was tweeting out about it, and also Justin Long is in it. Horror scream queen royalty. He's in everything.
Yeah. Justin Long is, and he's going to be in the upcoming Goosebumps series in a couple of weeks, right? Justin Long's in there as well. He loves a bit of horror.
Yeah, he does.
I guess it's always been true, though, right? I think the first thing I remember seeing Justin Long in was Jeepers Creepers.
Was Creepers Jeepers? Yeah, that's true. Anything else this week?
I'll tell you what, Ben. I've been very, very brave for different reasons than usual. I went back in and I watched Underworld Evolution.
Oh wow! Oh my god! Wait, is that the second one?
That's the second one. Yeah. So there's some flashbacks in there. There's a big destiny in there that we didn't think we saw come in, but it's mostly there's a big werewolf man and a big the vampire guy. If you remember the very end of Underworld, we saw that blood go in there, and his eyes went open. They went all funny. He's a big like flying man bat now. There's some good action.
Is it a prequel? Is it a prequel one? No,
it follows pretty much directly on.
Third one. Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, the third one is a prequel. But yeah, there's a this is the follow-on. So it's still Celine and Michael out on the road. Michael Corvin has got a tiny, like minimally, I must add, little bit more agency in this one.
Has he?
Yeah,
he's not a total. He's not just a
MacGuffin that are like get him. But he also does get written off for several bits of the film. But you know,
of course he does.
I caught up with that one, and maybe I will ever so slowly march on through that series. Two other things for you. I watched 2023's The Wrath of Becky, which I didn't realize until I started to watch The Wrath of Becky was a sequel. I had absolutely zero awareness of the first film, just called Becky, which I now need to go back and watch.
Who's in Becky? There's like
Becky, the main. I don't know who's in Becky, but well, apart from Becky, who is Lulu Wilson. But I couldn't tell who was in original Becky, but in this follow-up, one of our big bads is Stifler himself, old Sean William Scott. He's still about.
Oh my god, what's he playing at? So when did Becky come out? Because I remember that
Becky was 2020, I think.
So yeah, quite a quick turnaround for the old sequel then.
Yeah, Becky was
not seen either though. Not seen either.
Becky was 2020. Judging based on some reviews, people seem to think that The Wrath of Becky doesn't quite live up to the mania and some of the violence of the first Becky. Very satisfying violence. Yeah. But I really liked this, so I'm looking forward to going back and watching Becky. If it's even better than what I've just seen, then I'm looking forward to it.
Lovely stuff.
And the last thing I have for you,
Oh,
Ben,
you got another one? Okay.
just the last one, is a little bit of culture for you, 'cause it's not just about horror films here.
Oh yeah,
Um,
you are an incredibly
Last
cultured
week,
man, Andy.
I went to the theatre and
Mm.
saw 222, a ghost story written by Danny Robbins, whose name we've conjured on the show before. So anyone who listens to
Mm.
other sort of true paranormal investigation type horror, he does the Uncanny podcast. He did the Battersea Poltergeist series. He did the Witch Farm, and he's
Mm.
written 222, a ghost story, which takes a lot of the things, like someone who does listen to that podcast. I've listened to him do his paranormal investigation stuff, and talking to people who've witnessed things that they can't explain. Um, and it's always very well put together in that there are skeptical people and there are people who absolutely believe it, and they just debate what the goings on are.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good. Podcast's about to come back. There's about to be a TV series that also launches on Friday the 13th. So there's
Oh
tons of
wow.
stuff on about it, but you can see where he's taken the influences from these stories and crafted this fictional ghost story around it. Really,
Mm-hmm.
really tightly done. You'll get no spoilers from me here, but I would recommend you seek it out and try and watch it if you can. It's about to go on a world tour, I think. It's certainly touring the UK right now, and I think there are American, Australian dates too. So wherever you are in the
Oh,
world, you should be able to get and see it. Cast's really good.
sweet. Very nice. And where's the TV show? Where's that going to be shown?
I believe it might be BBC Two. BBC
Okay.
Two on Friday the 13th of October. But again, if you are on the iPlayer, or I'm not sure how sensitive BBC is to VPNs if you aren't in the UK, but
Mm.
you can try and catch it there. It's sure to be a good show. It's the podcast has
Awesome.
got quite a big following, so I think it will. I
Yeah.
think the TV show's got some weight behind it.
Okay. Awesome. Very exciting.
How about you? What
I,
else have you seen?
so I watched a couple more J horror movies after our episode last week, talking Due on the Grudge, based on Sarah and Jasper's expertise. I checked out two more Americanized J horror movies. Both of which I've seen before, but when you're like, I don't remember anything about those films, I kind of understand why now. So The Grudge 2, not the Japanese version, the American version, The Grudge 2, which follows on pretty much directly from The Grudge. Um, it's a bit more coherent in terms of like plot and pacing, and it's got a couple of good scares. A couple of good scares where maybe I didn't quite expect them. Maybe slightly better than the 2004 Grudge. You do still get Sarah Michelle Gellar in a much more reduced role. But yeah, it was right. If you love your Grudge, if you love getting your Grudge on and seeing someone crawl down the bloody stairs, get
You've
involved.
been killed if you've been killed under a circumstance where you have terrible anger, then this will be the film for you.
What did you tweet me earlier?
Oh,
Unless,
you want to take the advice we gave in the podcast last week, that if you want to get rid of your family, then just say nicely. Don't end on an argument. Just bonk them on the head and they're asleep.
bonk them on the head, they're asleep. Give them a nice farewell. Don't kill them in anger. They'll haunt you forever. So just give them a nice little goodbye. We don't recommend that, of course. We don't recommend murder in any sense or form. I also saw Rings. Now I've seen Rings before. Released in 2017. I went to the cinema to watch Rings, and I was the only person in the screening. I remember that. So in a way, I was like, "Oh, I'm watching a creepy film, and I keep looking into the corner or
I was
just
about to say,
behind me."
did it make it scarier? Do you think that Sadako was going to pop out?
Uh, so there's obviously a sequence that we discussed where Sadako like comes out of a like an airplane seat TV
Yeah.
screen, which is pretty cool. And it almost felt like everyone was experiencing it on the plane rather than just like, almost feels like in the Ring movies, just one person experiences it in a quite a closed off scenario where you're like, oh, it could be in their head, or maybe they're the only person who sees it. This kind of confirms that like other people can see it, and that it's just a bit basic, unfortunately. Like, it introduces some interesting things where it's like people are purposely watching this video, sorry, and then passing it on to other people, and it's kind of like a game that they can pass it on, and you've got someone who like looks out for you, like called a tail or something. So it's like no matter what happens, they'll be able to stop. Yeah. and it introduces some interesting things. And it's got Vincent D'Onofrio, I think that's how you say his name,
The Kingpin.
aka Kingpin himself. And I remember him being in this film, and it goes to some interesting places. But I feel like with films like this, sometimes they suggest interesting things, but the resolution is nowhere near as interesting as the like setup. And it felt like that with this film. So I remember not knowing much about it, and I don't think I'm going to remember much about it again because I don't think it's going to stick with me. Not horror, but I did watch The Creator, the new Gareth Edwards sci-fi movie with what's his face from Tenet, John David Washington,
Yeah.
Gemma Chan, Ken Watanabe. Like a really good cast, and like looks amazing, sounds amazing. Like one of the like huge scale sci-fi for the fact I don't think the budget was absolutely ginormous.
Yeah, I mean, lots of money to your eye, but not the obscene money that
No,
I think I heard listening to Weekly Planet today that I think if it makes 100 and so on, I think 120
yeah,
million, it will have cleared its budget and made
yeah.
profit,
I think
which
maybe it
is
was made for
nothing for a
eight.
film like this.
No, I think it was made from about 80. It obviously borrows loads from loads of places. Do you know what I mean? It feels like it borrows from uh anything at Neil Blomkamp. It feels like it's like Star Wars by way of Neil Blomkamp. Do you know what I mean? So
Okay.
it's like this big epic story, but with with very like grounded sort of technology in a way.
Yeah, like
Um,
technology that after you'd been handling it, you'd have to wash your hands.
you'd have to wash your hands exactly. I feel like it lacked some like heavy emotion. It felt like it needed that, and it lacked it. And it also felt like it didn't really have an antagonist because it almost felt like everyone involved was kind of no one was like really good. Everyone kind of sucked a bit, so you didn't know which side to root for. And then
Yeah.
it needed someone who was like a bastard, but still, I enjoyed it. It was a good Friday night movie. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is that I've been watching the development of this for a while, and today I watched a playthrough of it. And I do want to check it out myself. Resident Evil Containment, which is a total conversion mod for the original 1996 release of Resident Evil. It's available now. You can just download it for PC. I don't know if you can get it on Mac, which is why I haven't played it yet. But it's like using loads of assets from. So I watched a stream on the Residents of Evil Twitch channel, talking to the maker of the mod, and he was basically talking about all that it's got new cutscenes, new puzzles, events, music, sounds, monsters, full FMV movies like happening, and essentially it's like Ghost and Hunk go into go into the world of Resident Evil 1 before the events of Resident Evil 0, if that makes sense. So like the
What
biohazard's
they're doing,
just kicked off.
setting it up.
It's just kicked off apparently. But yeah, some really interesting stuff, and just to see what is essentially like a completely brand new 1996 era Resident Evil film. I know the mod community is huge, especially for Resident Evil stuff, but this is probably the first one in a long time where I felt like, oh god, this feels like it feels meaty. It's got like voice acting. It's got like original files for you to pick up. It's not like they've recreated a lot of the assets. Reused a lot of the assets. So there's a lot of audio stuff that sounds familiar. But apart from that, looks cool.
Oh,
Check it out.
that
I
sounds
think it's got like
brilliant. I
little kids.
will.
I think it's got little kid zombies in it as well for the first. Like that's never been in a Resident Evil game before.
No.
I think you go into an area which is like a creche or something like that. Like for and there's like little kid zombies.
Oh man, I'm
Anyway,
gonna have to check this out immediately. Tell you what, Ben,
yeah.
I'll talk about it properly next week, but I want to make sure you're not triggered, so I'll give you a double warning of this. I'm in the run up to Halloween. I'm trying to check out some more, see what's on Shudder. Hop on there. Currently watching something on there, about halfway through at the minute, called Quicksand: Your Worst Fear.
Bloody hell. Oh no.
I mean,
Something
so
called
far,
what? A film called Quicksand. Is there?
it's called Quicksand, and you'll never
How
guess what's
quick?
happened. They're
Oh,
stuck. They're
someone's
bloody
got
stuck
stuck
in
in some
there at the
bloody
minute.
quicksand, and there's no rope or long stick to help you out.
Worse than that, well, there was a stick that broke. That broke real quick.
Of course
And
it did.
now they're both stuck in there. And there's been ants. There's been a snake.
Oh, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Can't think of
So
anything worse.
I'll let you know if they get out safely, so you'll know
Yes,
if you'll be
please
alright to
do.
watch it.
Quicksand, rabies. What else was the irrational childhood fears that would never come anywhere near you?
Sharks in the swimming pool.
Sharks in the swimming pool. That was one. Yeah, that was obvious. I still think that now sometimes. I was in a swimming pool today and I thought,
Strangers just on the street because the police told us about that. And like stranger danger everywhere. As a young boy, Ben, about I was dawdling ever so slightly behind my mom. Was probably, I don't know, maybe 5, but probably only within about like 5 paces of her. I still vividly remember to this day this surreal Mrs. Radford situation. Um, just an old couple pointing towards me and saying like, "Oh, that's just like the one that Mr. Collins wanted." To me, a child thinking, "They're bloody sizing me up for abduction here." Legged it back to
Jesus,
mom and all them. I was walking past the shop window, so I imagine
you
with
never
adult
know.
hindsight, they're probably like in, "Oh, look at that nice set of stainless steel pans. They were just the ones that Mr. Collins wanted." But
Did they
no,
want to buy some pans or did they want to steal a kid?
yeah,
I know what I believe more.
stealing a kid to order in the Midlands.
Yeah. Uh, that's it. That's all I've watched. That's all you've watched. Apart
Apart
from
from
film of the week, first film of October for us. It's a film called Trick or Treat, not Trick or Treat. This is Trick or Treat, a 1986 movie. It was also known as Ragman and Death at 33 RPM in foreign markets, and they gave it a nice generic Trick or Treat name. I'm glad though that this takes place on and around Halloween
perfect
because
seasonal watch.
if it didn't, I would have been fuming, but it does, which is good. It's an American horror film. Who's it directed by? Charles Martin Smith. Little interesting fact about Charles Martin Smith. This is his first film. However, everything else he's directed is like family orientated pet movies like Airbud, The Snow Walker, Dolphin Tale, and Dolphin Tale 2, A Dog's Way Home. So something happened where he made this film and he went, this is too dark for me. I need to
I've
just
done. I've gone as scary as I can.
exactly. The film stars Marc Price and Tony Fields, with special appearances by Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne. The movie centers on an outcast metalhead teenager who is haunted by the ghost of his rock hero. Yeah, so in terms of ratings, we've got 5.8 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes, critic score 75%, audience score 62%, 3.2 on Letterboxd. Choice reviews, 1 from Oh Boo. I can't not like a movie where people get shot with lightning bolts from a guitar. 3.5 stars.
True story.
Watched by someone called Sammy. Is it Sammy Kerr himself? This fucking rules. I love it when spooky metal movies are done right. 5 stars. Men on Film says there's an incredible moment where someone is plucked out of a television that'll fool you into liking this. 3 stars. And S Mill says it's weird to see an 80s movie where the metal kid is bullied rather than the bully. 2.5 stars. There we go. That's true. Some more of the cast is Lisa Orgaloni, Doug Savant, who I recognize from stuff. He's in loads of stuff. He's got a very recognizable face. He plays the bully. He's in Godzilla, the 1998 version. He's in Maniac Cop 3. He's in Teen Wolf as
So you
Brad.
know him from, surely.
That's got to be where I know him from. Yeah, but I reckon I can picture him as like an older feller. And then obviously loads of other people who are just jocks or other high school kids. Wait, Roger's important. Glenn Morgan plays Roger. I say important. He's an absolute knobhead, really, and he's absolutely done himself in.
Bloody Roger. Just follow simple instructions.
Roger, you absolute belter. This is the first time I've seen this film. Is it the first time you've seen this film as
It
well?
is the first time I've seen this film. I have heard about it. I've
Yeah.
seen probably the same as you. I've seen it in Search of Darkness. I think I've heard the colleagues over on the Nightmare of on Film Street talk about it. I think in one of their double bills. I think they paired it
Yeah.
with Deathgasm, maybe,
Okay.
which is funding a sequel as we speak. But yeah,
Oh,
a rare
interesting.
breed of rock and roll slash metal
Yeah. Well,
horror movie. But
well,
I'd never seen it.
one of the descriptions here says like spooky metal movies are done right. But how many spooky metal movies are there?
This and
Okay,
Deathgasm, which from all accounts is done right.
yeah, a lot of people do like that. I guess.
It's the Gate that we watched with
Yeah, I
Emily a
was
couple
gonna.
of years ago. Like that's a record played backwards, right? Then has a message about a gate.
Yeah, no, it does exactly. Yeah, I was thinking, what does it compare to? And obviously, like things getting played backwards, things getting played backwards in the '80s, especially with everything being on vinyl, was incredibly popular. And of course, there were a lot of backwards messages um on actual albums and stuff that wasn't even backwards, but people were like, oh, if you play it backwards, listen to this. And it's vaguely sounds like someone saying, I love Satan. So people were just like, people were absolutely fuming about that. I think there's definitely something, there's got to be some Black Sabbath, got to be, I think there was something Led Zeppelin as well, which which was like that, which is interesting. I understand it, and
Yeah.
obviously because of all the satanic panic stuff in the '80s
Yeah, all these
as well.
worries that like the kids are going to be corrupted by those two most corrupting forces, D&D and rock music. Thinking, no,
D&D
if
and
you listen to these lyrics here, if you listen to them backwards and at a very certain speed, sounds like he's telling your kids to sit too close to the telly, maz off at school, all the things that you shouldn't be doing.
yeah, and obviously it's funny that we get Ozzy Osbourne playing like a TV. Was he like an
He's like a reverend. Yeah, his name
like a
is
reverend dude who's
his character name is Reverend something.
it's very
Reverend
obvious.
Aaron Gilstrom.
He did have short hair for a while, but it's very obvious that that's his long hair, just like styled to look short, isn't it? It's very
Big
obvious.
ponytail around the back of his head.
Big ponytail tied right in. I guess Green Room you could say was kind of like a, I mean, not so much metal, but
Yeah.
like a sort of rock and roll horror movie in a way.
What if the gig that you played was Nazis? Big horrible racists.
What if it was Nazis? Well, that is a horror film. And obviously, like the 2000s era horror kind of pairs very well with like new metal of the era because it was prevalent in the soundtracks. Every new metal band and basically mainstream horror and new metal went together perfectly for ages. Like in opening songs in credits, songs during action sequences. Like it was big time. And I guess like a lot of the visuals that go alongside some metal bands and horror just pair extremely well together, don't they? It's like cheese and pineapple.
Cheese and pineapple on a stick, or cheese and a little bit of apple and some grapes, or
Apple and grapes, apple
yeah,
and
apple and
cheese,
grapes and cheese. Yeah.
red
I
wine and a lovely bit of steak.
tell you what, if everyone a little non-horror tip for you at home, you know what makes a lovely but slightly healthier treat than having a bar of chocolate? Get a little peanut butter and put that on a nice sour green apple. Yum yum
Oh,
yum.
wow, that does sound good.
You look
That
puzzled
sound
then.
good, you
Tell you what,
absolute square. I'm not puzzled. I'm into that.
have a try of that. Have a go. I've pulled up for you if you want a bit of trivia while we're off.
Hell
So
yeah.
one of the most famous bit of backmasking to hear secret messages comes from the Beatles.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
at the end of "I'm So Tired," John Lennon is heard speaking some sort of gibberish, but when flipped,
Scouse.
some might hear, "Paul is a dead man. Miss him, miss him, miss him, miss him." This ties to the infamous Paul is dead conspiracy. Have you heard about this one?
Oh, what
The
that he was
conspiracy that Paul
replaced. He
McCartney
was
died and was
replaced by
replaced
a
by another Paul
yeah,
McCartney.
I've heard that, yeah. Luckily, we got another Paul McCartney line straight up. And if you've watched the extensive Beatles documentary, which is called something, what's it called?
Um,
The one that was on Disney Plus. All I kept thinking
there and
is
back again.
all I keep thinking is Paul McCartney's doing all the bloody work here. He's doing all the heavy lifting. So if anybody thinks that he's replaced a dead Paul McCartney, thank God they found someone who was also as good at writing songs.
So I tell you what, you can be in the Beatles to replace Paul McCartney, but you have to do all the work. Okay.
That's all right, yeah. When you said they hear someone speaking gibberish, I thought that's just Scouse. That's just a Scouse accent. Oh, but yeah, but like obviously it was thought of a lot in the 80s when Satanic Panic was big, and obviously like metal people like what's his flavor from Twisted Sister going up against so many people essentially trying to get all types of heavy metal like cancelled. And you know what happens when people try and get things cancelled? They just become more and more popular. Not so much in this day and age, because most of the time when people are cancelled, it is for being a wrong end. But I mean, in general, in like the 80s and 90s, if you're trying to get things cancelled,
literally like legally banned,
literally legally banned.
not just cancelled like no one likes you anymore because you're a twat. Literally, like you're illegal now.
You're illegal. All heavy metal is illegal. Yeah, people are going to gravitate to it even more so. And I guess that's part of the story of this, is that an outsider, and it is interesting to see an outsider, also called Eddie as well, which I thought was interesting. I wonder if Stranger Things took any inspiration from this film, because he kind of looks a little bit like him as well, with the I know cut off denim jacket and all that stuff. Yeah, it's an interesting sort of take on something like that. I kind of think it plays it too straight. I feel like it needs to be more over the top and silly, and maybe have someone in that title role of Sammy Kerr who is really chewing the scenery, because it doesn't feel like the most dynamic performance. Just I don't kind of understand the character very well. I feel like we needed to see something with the character before he dies.
Well, we
how
see
he
a
comes
tiny
to
little, we see a
a
tiny
tiny
little
bit.
clip of him, but oddly enough, he seems that he had me straight on. I was a big Sammy Kerr fan then, because he was
Yeah.
like, there was a bit where he was on like Loose Women or something at the start, and there's someone saying like, I put it to you, Sammy Kerr, that why do you want children exposed to this rock and roll music? And he very articulately says, oh, why do you want them exposed to these
Yeah.
politicians, eh? All these wrongins of it. And I was like, it's a good point. It's a good point, Sammy Kerr. But then
It's a good
moments
point,
later, it's
Sammy
like
Kerr. Yeah.
he's died in a Satan fire, and now he's a
I was
horrible
I
ghost.
was as confused that he was dead, just as much as Eddie, because it was like he caught the tail end of a report and they'd gone, and that's it, he's dead. Rest in
Yeah,
peace.
they've done like a massive long news bit about him being cancelled and everything. And then it just goes like, just to recap, Sammy Kerr dead in a
Yeah. I
fire.
think what I would have liked to see is some sort of establish of this character like actually in the film, because the fact that we only see him on TV and then he's in the film as like an undead ghosty is a bit confusing. I'd rather see him beforehand, maybe understand why he wants to live forever in the underworld. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
just him being really
he's all
into that.
paranoid. Maybe he's all paranoid because he's just like, oh, they're gonna get me. They're gonna make it look like an accident. They're gonna kill me. They want me dead. But I know I've got a good way of living forever. I'm gonna do
Yeah,
this.
he's going to do that. And also, I mean, the school should have counted themselves lucky. The school trying to get him cancelled. This was a person who, by all intents and purposes, was a world famous rock star, was mentioned on the news following his death,
Yeah.
and he was going to play at your school disco.
Is that legit though? Because I
Yeah,
just feel
because
like
the old lady who gets slapped through the TV later was like, I don't want him playing at this here school disco. So it's like,
I'm
he
the
was willing
biggest
to
rock
play it.
star in the world right now. But I am gonna come and play the school disco just for you.
I
And
mean,
why would everybody want him to play the school disco? Because as far as I can tell, if you listen to metal in the school, you're a bloody nerd.
until until later on
How
when
can you
some metal
listen to
does
this
get
shit?
played and everyone loves it.
That was confusing because at one point one of the guys goes, "How could you listen to this shit?" And I'm like, "What are they listening to in school? Then bloody." I'm about to say Wigfield. That's 1990s.
Just their early
bloody
stuff.
Wig. Listen to bloody Wigfield's early stuff, are you? What do you listen to?
When does
I don't
that?
know.
When did that song "Oops Upside Your Head" come on? Where you sit on the floor and like do sit ups and tap the sides and do that.
Oh
When did that
god,
come
that's
out?
what they're all listening to in it. I reckon 80s. It's been around forever, isn't it?
That's why they had such
Oops,
good abs then.
upside your head.
Just doing like all
Great
those
abs.
sit ups on there.
I,
Um,
I don't, yeah.
I mean Tony Fields, who plays the titular Trick or Treat. Um, you talk about performance wise, physical performance. What a showman! I
Oh
think
yeah, hell yeah.
he
Right, yeah. I'm not trying to be mean about the character or the actor.
might lack in some of the acting and the line delivery parts, because by the looks of it, he's a gymnast and dancer by trade.
When
And
he
if you look
starts
at the rest of his
performing,
filmography, he's like load of stuff with Michael Jackson. He's in Michael Jackson's Thriller, Michael
mm,
Jackson's Captain EO, which I didn't know what that is. He's in Dance Academy of 1988. He's in 1990s Backstreet Dreams.
Backstreet Dream. Yeah, exactly. I mean, physically great, especially when he starts performing, when he's like spinning around and running up and down. He embodies the sort of rock star persona. Great. He embodies it well. I just kind of think, in terms of the character he was supposed to be, he's very. It's a very serious performance and it's a very serious role. But like, it's a rock star coming back from the dead to wage war on like your enemies, essentially.
Yeah.
I feel like it needed just something. It needed a bit of.
I mean, you know, they could have done. You could have mixed this up here. You could have done a proper Arnold Schwarzenegger's Hercules in New York. Actually, no, he did voice that in the end. But I'm thinking of a film where you voice someone else. Can you imagine if you'd had Tony Field's physical performance combined with? I mean, he would get a great iconic voice acting role later when he did The Darkness, but get Mike Patton doing the voice.
Jesus, yeah.
Imagine that coming through your bloody record
I can
collection.
imagine. Oh, that would have been ridiculous. I can imagine. You got Ozzy and you've got Gene Simmons on the payroll already. Neither of them are known for their acting chops. I know that. However, just let them go mad. Do you know what I mean? Like Ozzy don't need a second.
I thought Ozzy was so good in this. I fucking loved him.
Just let it. Just imagine him in that role. It would have been superb. But yeah, not taking anything away from Tony Fields in terms of his physical performance. I think it's kind of the script as well, like him, the way the character is portrayed. We don't really understand like why he's doing what he's doing.
He's come back to life as a rock and roll ghost with the same powers as Frankenhooker.
Exactly, yeah, with the bloody electricity. We can get that word out. Electricity powers, where he's just blowing people up, and it takes about 6 people getting blown up before anyone realizes something bad's happening.
He is afraid of moms, though. Because whenever Eddie's mom comes in, he like disappears into the speaker.
Yeah.
Like, I will do absolute murders. I will turn into a goblin and melt some poor woman's ears off. But I cannot get busted by your mom. That would be the worst thing for me right now.
Yeah, and a toilet. He gets stuck in the toilet, which I'm assuming is because he's electricity based and water's getting. Someone flushes the water. The water disappears when you flush it, doesn't it? Yeah. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. That's going against it. Yeah, so I mean, it is an interesting film. I think it's more of an interesting concept than it is an interesting film, because I don't know. I feel like by the final act, it kind of is a bit all over the place, and I mean, standard like 80s high school jock bullies. You kind of it sets that up well enough that where you hate them and you want them to get their comeuppance,
to get slightly revenged upon. Only when they one of my favorite lines from Eddie in the film, we'll come to it, is when there's been a little bit of revenge, but when Angie gets her ears melted off, Eddie wants Sammy Kerr to stop. He goes, "This is really serious."
She's had her ears melted off, right? She's in the hospital with no ears. This is really serious, Sammy Kerr. I don't know. I feel
this is getting really serious. Sorry, fair play. I did realize that you did say that you wanted to nail your enemies, the bullies, but I do realize I may have overreached with melting a girl's ears off when I turned into a goblin that time.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty good.
Let's get into it, shall we?
So the main character's name is Eddie Ragman. Now, his surname's like Weinbauer, right? However, I kept mishearing it so much. At one point, it sounded like what's the bully's name? The main bully, Tim.
Tim.
It sounded like when he was shouting Weinbauer, I thought he was shouting White Power. I'm like, hang on a minute.
Bloody hell, Tim, they're trying to cancel metal music at this school.
They're trying to cancel metal music, and you're just turning around saying that. I thought you were saying that, and then someone else pronounced it differently. I'm like, at least work out how you're going to get it. Why is his name Ragman?
I guess it's just his nickname.
He went, "My name's Eddie Weinbauer," and they went, "Eddie Ragman, is that what you said?" And he went, "No," and he gone, "I've misheard your name once. That's your nickname from now on."
Maybe he loves bloody ragtime piano.
He loves it. He absolutely loves it.
Or like once, it's like one of those things, like, when you're 3 years old, you go to you go on holiday with your mum and dad and you want like a dolphin from the gift shop. And then later on, years later, every time they go on holiday, they bring you something dolphins. So I wanted it once when
Ah,
I was 3. Oh,
no.
loves dolphins, doesn't he?
He can't get enough of dolphins. But yeah, Eddie he's like a metal fan, and just so we know, it shows all the posters of his favorite metal bands. I don't think there's any music from any of these metal bands in it, as far as I'm aware. I think
No, not that I heard.
the music was performed by a band called Fastway, or like a British band, formed by Motorhead guitarist Fast Eddie and UFO bassist Pete Way. The score was composed by Christopher Young. I thought that was good. I've been watching loads of stuff for Christopher Young scores in recently. Obviously, Hellraiser and Spider-Man 3. I don't want to remember that. Yeah, obviously there's loads of posters and like paraphernalia and records from famous bands, but I don't think the actual music is used. Some
Some
of
of
the
your
posters we
favourites on
see.
there?
I don't know about my favorites. I mean, there's Judas Priest, Anthrax is in there. I have seen Anthrax, but I wouldn't consider them my
There's a
favorites.
big Twisted Sister up there.
There's a big Twisted Sister. Yeah, Twisted Sister never really been one of my favorites. Oh wait, there's some Motley Crue stuff. Always love Motley Crue, and obviously Ozzy. Although I'm assuming, based on the fact that Ozzy is in this film, Ozzy Osbourne doesn't exist in this universe, possibly, or maybe
Well, maybe he
they
does
just
because
look
he's not playing Ozzy Osbourne, is he? He's playing the Reverend.
they look very similar,
His
maybe.
brother took a different path.
Yeah. Some other bands in there's like so Anthrax, Twisted Sister, Motley Crue. Oh wait, it does say they're Ozzy Osbourne in the poster. Poison and Kiss.
Poison.
So clearly, Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne exist in this universe, which is awesome. There we go.
All your
So yeah,
favourites got some Slade up there. You get Noddy Older
all
in
my
this
favorite
film.
rock band. You got bloody Slade. You got Shakin' Stevens. I don't know what they're all Christmas related.
Sinclair.
Did I ever tell you when my dad rang me like first thing in the morning once to tell me something about Noddy Holder? Have I told you this? He rang me. It was like, I reckon, 8 a.m. My dad's ringing me. I wonder what it could be. Hello, Dad. Ben, have you heard? What's that? Noddy Holder, thinking he's going to say Noddy Holder's passed away. Yeah? Confirmed as the new Doctor Who. And I just went, first of all, why are you ringing me to tell me that? I wouldn't consider myself a fan of Slade. I don't really like Doctor Who. And thirdly, where have you got this information? Because it never came true. This was like probably 10 years ago. I reckon this was when what's his name? Peter Capaldi was getting I think when he became Doctor Who, whenever that was.
I guess
Noddy Holder. I went, Noddy Holder, the man who's not an actor.
He doesn't look. I guess
He
Peter
doesn't look
Capaldi looks more like Noddy Holder than like any other person, maybe.
I was fuming. Even though it was 8 a.m., I think I gave him the what for. I just went, I couldn't think of a piece of information I care about less than that. Leave me alone.
Oh.
But yeah,
we had
it's
a
interesting.
message of them about doing maybe a Doctor Who episode because it's approaching a big anniversary. Maybe as part of that, we'll sneak in a little bit about what would it have been like if Noddy Holder was Doctor Who.
Who's not even famous for acting, let alone being Doctor Who.
Surprise bit of casting there, you never know.
You never know. So yeah, he's obviously into hair metal essentially, which is like I'm a big metal fan, but I'd say hair metal might be one of the genres that I appreciate from afar, and probably know Alice Cooper might be one of my favorites in the genre.
He's off in Prince of Darkness, putting a bike in that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Anthrax of all the big four, probably the least favorite of those. But Ozzy is like one of my all-time favorites, and so that's great. But yeah, it's a lot of hair metal stuff which he's into. Yeah, and we sort of see his room, and he's got like a cool little like loft space with posters and a pretty decent music setup,
Lovely,
music
lovely
system.
hi-fi.
Lovely hi-fi, which he smashes to bits. Dirty, rotten bastard. A lovely collection of vinyl. He's got like it's like a guitar amp. It's like a proper big old stack that he's got in that room, which I'm like, Jesus, that's too loud, if anything.
Not in the attic. It's gonna shake the whole house.
It's gonna shake the whole house, exactly. But he is his number one fan. He's the number one fan of Sammy Kerr. And is he like writing something at one point where he's almost like trying to communicate with him? He strikes me as the kind of person who would write fan fiction about.
Yeah, he's standing it, isn't he? He's doing
He's
a
standing
stand
it.
letter. Like
Sammy
Dido,
Kerr, no one bloody.
he's got his Dido on in the background, and he's just on just that little bit on a loop, and he's like,
Sammy, I wrote you, but you still ain't calling because you're too
yeah,
busy in the courtroom defending
yeah,
heavy metal.
yeah, and he's like saying like, ah, oh, you get it, Sammy Kerr. We come from this same old school, and you went to the school same as me, but you rose above it, man.
Oh wait, is that what happened? So Sammy Kerr went to that school.
Yeah. So you think that more people at the school
That's why. Yeah, you think they would?
That's why he was going to play the school.
I've got it now. Okay, maybe I missed that bit. Please show respect for Sammy Kerr. If you know what I mean, he's a very legend. The Lake Ridge High alumnus, whose vulgar antics earned him a ban from returning to perform at the school's Halloween ball. What are his vulgar antics? He's not like. There's a bit where he's like tonguing a snake. Obviously, I guess they're trying to compare.
He bites his head off, doesn't he? Ozzy Osbourne's it kills it, and he's like soaking himself in the blood. When he's on and they showed that on the news.
Maybe that's one step too far. I feel like showing it on the news is just as bad. Oh, is it true? This might be maybe I've misunderstood this. Ozzy never actually thought it was a real bat. He just thought someone had thrown like a.
Thought it was like
a
jelly one from Pick and Mix.
Can't blame him though, because who takes a bat to any music event?
Yeah.
Let alone throw it on stage. Also, throw it. You'd think you'd throw it and it'd fly off.
Yeah. Bats would be famously hard to throw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, So just as Eddie comes downstairs, he's coming down to get his breakfast and put a wash on. He's putting a load of whites on, and he hears the news article with we see Sammy Kerr talking to some like a panel show, talked about the thing being banned, and then this is the bit where it goes. Just a reminder, Sammy Kerr dead in a fire today.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? It's like, here's a story, and just a reminder, he's dead in a fire.
This is before the days of the scrolling thing across the bottom, so you could get context immediately. You'd have to wait.
Yeah.
It's
like a mysterious hotel fire as well. And it's pretty sad for Eddie to find out the way he does, because it's like, he is gutted. He goes and lies on his bed, and he's just like, devastated.
He put the posters of his other favorite bands down?
I think for him, he's like, what's the bloody point in enjoying heavy metal if the one person I love in heavy metal is dead? Get it down, rip it all down.
Replaces it, puts some Care Bear posters up.
Is he like
gets Wigfield on?
It gets his Wigfield posters up. Is he like a solo man as well, Sammy Kerr? Or is he in a band? Did they say that?
Doesn't say, does it?
It's the thing. I felt like it needed to establish Sammy Kerr a little bit better. The fact is, we kind of just see him on the news. It feels like I can't really get a grasp of like this guy and what he's about. And when he eventually turns up, he's kind of different to how he appeared on the news anyway. So it's like, it almost made me feel like, is it even supposed to be him? Maybe
maybe it was just a demon that just looked a bit like him. Yeah, but is this where Eddie goes to? Does he go straight to the radio station where he sees his mate Gene Simmons?
His best mate, Gene Simmons. So he goes to get comfort from his friend Nuke, who's a radio DJ. He's good at being a radio DJ, and he's a former classmate of Sammy Kerr as well. So he's like, I knew him firsthand, mate. You know what I mean? And he's got a copy, like a master, of Kerr's last and as yet unreleased album, Songs in the Key of Death. I guess that's a riff on, is it Stevie Wonder? Songs in the Key of Life? I'm pretty sure that's
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a Stevie Wonder album called that. He's gone, right, that's it. Who am I going to take anger with? Stevie Wonder. Songs in the Key of Death? More like Songs in the Key of Life. Sorry, Songs in the Key of Life? More like Songs in the Key of Death, mate, because I'm heavy metal, all right? It's on an acetate disc, and for some reason, Nuke is like, essentially... Oh, wait, he's copied it, hasn't he? Nuke.
Yeah, I've got this on tape.
He's going to play it at midnight on Halloween midnight on Halloween? Is that midnight
November the 1st.
November the 1st? Or is he going to play it the day before? Who knows? Confusing. But yeah, so that's what Sammy wanted, apparently. That's Sammy's, as per Sammy's will. He set it up for this to happen. And when Eddie goes back home, he plays the album. Why does he play it backwards? Is there a reason why he plays it backwards?
Oh, is it because he falls asleep listening to it? Because he has that nightmare about Sammy Kerr dying in a fire,
Yeah.
where there's other people in the hotel room that are just walking about on fire, going bloody hell,
Because it almost looks like some sort of like
a cult thing, like he burned
like a
himself up on purpose on a fire.
exactly, yeah. And again, that just got me thinking. I wanted to find out more about this, and it could have easily, even if it was like a cold open, I feel like it could have easily just done with that for us to establish this character, then kill him, and then introduce us to Eddie, how much he loves him, while we know, oh bloody, hell, he's dead. He's going to be
Oh, you think
devastated when
he's
he's
brilliant?
dead.
Yeah, he's going to be demoed.
Because it's just confusing. So yeah, it plays backwards, and he hears Sammy's voice. And what does Sammy's voice say? So he says Eddie, doesn't he?
Yeah, he says something to me. He like catches that there's a bit going on, right? I'm not sure if it's Eddie because he doesn't talk about revenge yet because he hasn't sworn revenge yet at this point. Because we soon see that I think we had a little scene with Eddie at school. We had in the bit when he was writing the Stan letter to Sammy Kerr. We see those bullies do some real horrible bully things to him, like put a hole at the bottom of his chocolate milk, so a little bit goes
Oh
on his
yeah.
on his top.
When he was doing that and it was spilling all over him, I was like, why is everyone in the room looking at him? And I was like, oh, they did it on purpose.
Oh, they've done it. I think again, this is one of those things. I find it really difficult for films to get the balance of bullies exactly right.
Yeah.
Because like
This, yeah,
do the
this,
little it's either little things like that, and you'd go over, especially if you're the metal kid, and go fuck off, cunt. Like, why would you do that to me?
yeah. It's not
um,
just that. It's like bullies seem to range from I've done a little prank on you. We got chocolate milk down your front to I'm going to murder you. We're going to throw you in the pool with weights in your bag and watch you drown.
I'd have
Like,
been tempted at that point to drown on purpose to ruin their lives. I'd have gone in there and I'd have made it, just like gone, just breathed all my air out and died as quickly as possible. I mean, oh,
uh,
that's right. Now I'll be a Sammy Kerr ghost.
oh yeah, that'd be good. You could be a ghost with Sammy Kerr and come back
I'd,
and
I'd
fuck him
go
up.
under the water, and while I was taking my big breath out, try and scratch into my arm. It was this guy, write his name, murdered by.
Wow. Wow.
Incredibly
So yeah, they,
petty.
they do all that, and then they do the thing where he comes out the shower and they're like going for his stuff and steal his tape
Oh, that was it. They go through stuff and steal this tape, and then push him out completely naked onto the.
into the middle of a badminton game. But well, it might not have been badminton between I don't even know between all of the girls at the school. So he's
And one of
completely
them's got a bloody
naked.
Polaroid on her.
Ah, yeah. What's all that about? Like, talk about kit me when I'm down. I'm completely nude. Oh, he's lying on his front at one point. I'm completely nude. I've been stitched right up, and someone's walking over and taking a Polaroid picture of my arse crack,
Can you
which is exactly
imagine
what they
being
do.
completely nude, face down on like the gritty sports hall floor?
Oh, yeah. I don't
Trying to
think.
crawl on that. Yeah, I mean, thankfully for that bully character, he does live in 1986 and not the modern era. I think nowadays you probably go to like Epstein prison for being like throwing you out of a room naked as well. That is, you have kind of sexually abused me there, mate.
Sexually abused me there, mate.
Yeah, so how
Yeah.
about you get to fuckery?
Get to fuckery.
But yeah,
Um,
so he is yeah. So these bullies have been giving him some grief, and then, as you say, the final thing, and there is a love interest that is inexplicably, for no other reason than the film calls for it, interested in Eddie. So Leslie Graham.
well, I kind of got the fact. I don't know if I got a feeling that she was interested in him at this stage. I kind of got the fact that she was like, there's always like someone who's friends with the jocks, friends with that side. Oh, give him a break, leave him alone. And she's obviously been a bit nice to him. I kind of felt like the interest grows over the film.
Yeah,
But
she
yeah,
gets
it might have been.
she does get the Polaroid picture back, and she's spoken to him a little bit, and she
Gives
invites
him
him
his
to
tape.
the
Gives him his tape back as well. Yeah.
pool party, right? I said, "Oh, there's a pool party after hours tonight. I'm not planning on drowning anyone. You should come along." And he
You say pool
does.
party. It looks like they're just at the school pool, aren't they? I guess snuck in.
Just
Oh,
yeah,
having a bloody
sneaking in.
official pool party. Yeah, great.
And
I don't know
they're
if I...
just doing some classic 80s movie partying. So several of the girls that aren't major characters don't have tops on. All the ones that do, that's fine. But
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
if you're not a major character, topless, please.
Is this a bloody
Um,
topless pool party? I had no idea.
they're just splashing about. They're just having generic fun in the pool, just doing some splashing and some shouting. All the rules are being broken effectively. But when Eddie comes along, um, the bullies see him and go, "Bloody, what are you doing here? Liking metal music, but fundamentally not being weird in any other way. Like you talk normally."
Yeah, they say something to him like you got to stop being weird. Like that's the problem. You're so weird. Can you just be normal? What?
So,
Normal's boring, mate.
oh, hang on, Tim. Let me just see. Have you got it in your diary how long you've actually been obsessed with me, thinking about whether I'm normal or not? And
I
then
think maybe you're in love with me. All right, Tim.
Angie, who is Tim's girlfriend, she goes, "No, no, Tim, just let me ask him a question." And then she goes up and goes, why don't you just try being normal, Eddie? Just try being a little bit normal for once in your bloody life. Listen to some Wakefield and
For
wind your
once in
neck
your
in."
bloody life, be normal. Just listen to all the same things we
And she
do. Enjoy.
she like says, "Go on, I bet you didn't even know how to do the Macarena." And unfortunately, in 1986, that wasn't a genetic memory like it is now. I reckon,
1986.
yeah, it's all that topless pool party, and then it's obviously ruined my recollection of what names for numbers are. But in that, I've developed like a West Country 1986. Um,
1986 is what I
um,
call it.
but she goes, "Oh, just listen to the same music as everyone else will, yeah? Just try being a little bit normal." Um, and then
Give
there's
me an
horrible
example of
close.
what you're listening to, is what I'd say. Give me an example of what you're listening to. I want to know. I like metal music, but I'm sure I'd like some other stuff as well. Just give me some examples.
Simple Minds, maybe they're listening to that.
They'll just go, "Well, it's just whatever's on the radio." I remember that. Sorry to give you another tedious story. I remember I went to like a booze cruise work event once, right? And I just asked somebody what music they planned to play at this thing, just because I get an understanding of what it was. And they went, "Oh, Ed, what music are you planning to play at this booze cruise?" And she went, "Just the charts." And I went, "Oh yeah, the famous musical genre
Of the
charts is what I call
charts.
it, of the charts." What charts? Because in the 90s, Limp Bizkit was in the charts. Okay. These days, it's all Justin Bieber. Well, I don't even know it. Justin Bieber, Dua Lipa.
Just so Dua Lipa's up to, yeah.
Yeah. Just the charts, please. So that's what they wanted him to listen to. They're like, "Stop listening to bloody heavy metal music. Listen to just the charts." And he'd be
Just
like,
every week, listen to what number one is, and then listen to that for the week. All right.
and I go, "Well, most of the metal bands I like probably had a number one album, mate. So eat shit."
Yeah. Not the album charts, Ben. I only want you to listen to the
Not the
singles
album
chart.
charts. We want the bloody singles charts. We want our music in tiny little bite-sized portions forced down our throats.
Just Madonna, Erasure, and
I like all these things. I like all these things.
oh, favorite tapes, Ben. When I was growing up, favorite cassettes I had, there was an Erasure tape that I listened to on the way to swimming lessons, and a
Oh,
salt and pepper tape that I found by a
amazing.
tree we used to build bases in. Just a little
You
tape that
found
salt and
it.
found it
Just
out in the
discarded.
streets. Just said
There's
salt and
someone out
pepper.
there. There's someone out there now who still occasionally thinks by the time they lost their salt and pepper tape by the tree where you build bases, and is devastated essentially.
Might still be at my
Um,
parents' house. They haven't thrown anything away since 1987, so
that's
um,
handy.
they might still have that salt and pepper tape.
So yeah, so essentially, because he's weird, because he doesn't listen to the same music as them,
Best thing to
because
do,
he's
best course of action, drowning.
where's this weight come from? One of them just got like got a weight that they suddenly just jam in his
Probably just
backpack.
doing some bicep curls on at your pool party, and he goes, "All right, unscrew
I'm
this
at the
weight."
pool party, but getting buff never stops.
Yeah,
So
so they whack it in his
fr-
thing, throw him in there.
I don't feel like you need to. He's wearing about 4 layers. He's got like a denim jacket, a leather jacket, loads of chains, a backpack. You don't need to put an extra weight in his back. Throw him in, he's sinking anyway.
Sinks like a chimpanzee in that water, unable to swim. And
Wait, can chimpanzees not
yeah,
swim?
I think that's an urban myth. I think they can swim, they just don't like water. But the
They
joke is
they
that
go. I thought you were saying
their muscles are too thick. They can't swim. They're like
they
rock types.
they can swim. They just don't like to.
Yeah, they just
They just.
drown. Spiteful.
I'll try then.
Yeah, so he doesn't drown. So the girl that has showed a little bit of interest in him. So Leslie, she hops in and rescues him because what's your problem,
Yeah.
bloody
What I
pretty Tim?
enjoy is that when he's pulled out of the water and he just looks at Leslie. There's a lot of good facial acting here from the guy who plays Eddie, Marc Price. He kind of looks at her first of all like, "Oh my god, thank you," but then secondly like, "Oh, how embarrassing is it that you've just had to save my life?" It's really good. Like, just there's not much going on there, but it's just good enough that I realize. And he stomps out, and she's like running after him. And I think, yeah, it is obvious that maybe she does, because she might just let him go, but she obviously does feel a certain
And he
way.
feels a bit stitched up, right? Like she has maybe invited him there to be drowned, although a mom
Yeah.
she was late arriving, so she wasn't there to talk to him when he arrived, and he got stitched up because a mom was late dropping her off to the illegal pool party.
Did you invite me there to get drowned? No, I would never do that. Suspicious. I'm very suspicious. But he doesn't really forgive her, does he? He kind of just
She
leaves
was
it,
like,
doesn't
"Oh, I
he?
wasn't part of it," but then he sort of goes, "Well, I'm gonna nail them all."
He says that, yeah, he's gonna nail them all. But what's kind of interesting about this is that like there's no real like malice to Eddie's revenge. Like he doesn't ever at any point like want the ghost of Sammy Kerr to like murder them. And when
No,
he realizes it's taking a sinister turn, he's very, very quick to shut it down. So
he
there's
thinks it's getting really serious now. But the first bit, to be fair, he was so angry when he says that he really wants to nail these people. You would think that he is thinking of, properly get them killed. But actually, what he mostly wants to do is get them done by the teachers.
yeah. Oh, that's it. That's what he wants. Yeah. I want to nail him. I want to nail him so hard. Oh, do you? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I do. I want to get.
nail
I'm
them
gonna
with
get him done.
school-based punishment, but
He
in
tries
a
to do it on his
subtle way
own
that
first, though, doesn't he?
um, which isn't him just telling on them saying they try. If you want to get someone done, Eddie, tell them they just tried to drown you in a pool while they're having an
It what
illegal after-school pool
I gotta be
party.
honest. It wasn't a laugh. They genuinely tried to kill me. It was attempted murder.
It's
But yeah,
attempted murder. Actually, go in, phone the police while
he
you're.
doesn't. He doesn't try to do anything with Sammy Kerr initially. He tries to get like a little bit of revenge, on them himself, doesn't he?
Oh no,
Which
Sammy Kerr
is
gives him advice. He says something like, "You are the
that's right.
bait." Sammy Kerr says, "You're the bait,"
Yeah.
actually.
Oh no,
So
of course.
he gives him like these schematics. He's like, "Right, go to that corridor, put a bucket here. Get
Ah,
this."
yeah. Set
Um,
up this lovely Home Alone style trap because I think Sammy sort of experienced a similar type of abuse in his youth. Um, so yeah, and initially I don't think Eddie thinks that the revenge is going to be like in any way murder. I think he just thinks,
I'm gonna get him told off, and that's what he does. So he go like they're there.
yeah,
Leslie comes over and says, "What's going on today?" Like it was just. I mean, Leslie is really minimizing this in a way. She's like, "Oh, it's just a misunderstanding. It's just misunderstood that putting a weight in someone's bag might drown them."
it was just a laugh. All right, this is the thing. People are so quick to judge these days. It's just a laugh. If someone ended up dead from it, that's a shame.
Yeah, that was just people like trying to turn it around, and him, but he gaslighting him. Said, "Oh no, just like a little misunderstanding. Someone at music festival tried to pick my pocket once, and then when I busted him, and he was like, 'Oh man, you're just so suspicious about people.' Oh, I'm the cunt. All right, thanks.
Yeah,
Cheers."
yeah. Oh, I'm the cunt. I should be suspicious about people with their hands in my pockets.
Yeah,
I was just checking you had enough in there.
yeah. If
All
I
right.
wish,
Oh,
with hindsight, wish I'd put a weight in his pocket and threw him in a pool.
that would have been
But
good.
yeah, but it done the world a service. But that isn't what happens. So Eddie's revenge is to go up to Bully and say, "All right, Tim, um, how did you like the taste of these bloody apples?" Whacks his dinner tray into his lap, and
Do you know what
then
I would have said though? If I would have said to Sammy, I would have said like, "Look, I'm well up for this. However, can we maybe do it a bit closer to the cafeteria so I haven't got to run for what feels like 30 minutes to get
yeah.
there through a library, through a music class."
Oh, these are the whole thing. I love this little bit of a chase though. So basically, he throws Tim's lunch on him, honks his nose, and puts it like gives him a big Bugs Bunny kiss on the lips, and then runs away. Runs away, and then these guys are basically running after him. One of them falls into the bucket and slides down the stairs. Probably did himself an injury.
Yeah.
They're
Oh
running.
my god, that was insane. He like slipped and went flying out the door, like down the stairs.
Yeah. That guy's
That
not
was
in the
good.
rest of the film. I assume he died.
Dead. He
Um,
broke his neck.
so
It's annoying though, isn't it? It's like all his bloody jock friends chasing after him as well. Tim can't just do his dirty work on his own.
yeah, chasing after him as well. The bit where they run through a music class, the music teacher doesn't say anything. Can you imagine when you were at school if you'd like run through an active classroom?
Yeah. The
Finish.
music teacher's just like shaking his head, like, oh,
Boys will
bloody
be
hell.
boys. I love the bit when they go into the library and then they all take it in turns to just like do like a fast walk where they stand
Yeah,
up
yeah. Like a silent fast walk. Yeah,
yeah,
that's good.
through the library. But then basically, after that massive walk, after we make sure their anger has reached its peak, like Eddie just takes a different turning, and then part of the plan, I guess, is that Tim would
Yeah.
pick up a fire extinguisher and like he, without looking, like boots fully the door open and like goes, "Eat shit, motherfuckers," and like sprays the thing in. Unbeknownst
Yeah.
to Tim, though, that's like the staff room or something like
It's a
that.
staff room, and he just holds it for ages, spraying it. Oh, I can't control myself. Um, all the teachers look absolutely ancient as well, which is even worse. And they're all like holding each other in shock, which is great.
And then I feel like moments after that camera cut, their anger would have been insurmountable. Tim was probably obliterated.
Exactly. Um, so when do we see the? Obviously, there's a bit where where Eddie's back at school again, kind of just getting on with his day, and that's when Tim comes up to him and says, "We had to do janitor duty for all morning."
Oh, that was it. Eddie gives him the advice and says, "Yeah, I'll go to room 66," and he does. He's eating his sangers in there, and Tim and his mate come in and do right. You've chosen to have your lunch in this quiet room. Now knocks the headphones off his head. He goes, "What are you listening to this bloody rubbish for?"
Tips his bloody desk with like it's one of those desks where you're kind of like stuck in it, and it's so painful.
Tips him
Smashing his
out.
crust.
Yeah, it sort of cuts him in half almost. But then when he's going to do it, unfortunately, he's not listened to the advice about like being bloody careful in tech lessons.
Yeah.
And because it's electric machinery, Sammy
Why
Kerr
was
can use his power on it.
why was he wearing a tie? This guy.
So it could get slapped into this machine.
Because he's been on janitor duty. I don't know.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
going to clean the school and you better wear your bloody Sunday best to do it.
So he's with his mate as well, and the reason his mate can't come over to save is because like some sparks are like in his way.
Oh no, not Sparks.
Bloody hell, my one
Please.
weakness. And there's like a what do you call it? Like a drill bit like coming towards his eye, like
Yeah.
gonna kill him, and Eddie is in control of switching it off right at the last second. And then Tim says, "This isn't over. You might have saved my life, essentially, but it's just so I'll get you."
You might have saved my life. Like two things. Either it was an accident and you just saved my life, or you somehow engineered a situation in which I was almost killed and I should be terrified of you.
Yeah. Neither is good, really.
So he goes, and then the next step.
I think there's a couple of bits as well where like Eddie's trying to show Roger like the music, and Roger's like really disinterested, essentially, isn't he? But then he makes
Roger
a
does like
tape.
metal music as well, right? Because he's like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah,
this album, I know all about it."
he's just he's what is known as a metal elitist. You know, there's always someone who's like basically real metal is this, and everybody thinks differently. Some people like the thrash of the 80s, some people like hardcore, some people like
PJ and
just
Duncan.
some people like PJ and Duncan, just stuff like that, and they kind of think this. Yeah, it's not as good. It's not as good as the first album. You know what I mean? The first album was perfect, seminal. This one, nah, not so much. They've sold out essentially.
He reckons they've
Um,
sold out, so he is disinterested in it, and he's not really. He kind of like he says at some
I
point
mean,
to
the
Eddie, he's
thing
like,
is,
he's still a good friend. He's like,
I
oh,
don't
if you
blame him because it doesn't really sound good, does it? It kind of just sounds like something kind of backwards, and it doesn't really sound like a song. It kind of just sounds like just some. Like that's the fact that when it gets played at even when it gets played at the school dance, I'm like, someone would turn this off immediately because it doesn't even sound like anything.
I mean, because it's designed to be backmasked, it sounds like nonsense when it's forward. It sounds like they've got what's it called on the
Yeah.
Shaka Run. It's like
You'd be like, hang on a minute, this definitely sounds backwards. Are you sure you're playing this correctly? No,
turn that
get
around,
it
play it
off.
forwards. Um, and yeah, he makes uh, a little tape, which is a tape of the Sammy Kerr album, and he puts
Yeah.
it in Tim's locker, saying, "Tell you what, Tim, I know you hate me primarily because I listen to metal music, but I have a
Here's
peace
a
offering, a tape of some metal music."
here's a peace offering, a tape of some metal. Oh, thanks. I'll definitely listen to that. Yeah, and Tim
To be fair, he
one
keeps it.
evening he keeps it. He keeps it in his car. He goes somewhere quiet with his girlfriend for a little bit of what necking on and titting up over the jumper.
Yeah, he's yeah, they're macking on in his in in his car.
Yeah, and he
And then
goes, "I've
all
got
of
to
a
go for it."
sudden, like a little Metal Gear Solid exclamation mark appears of us as like, ah!
Yeah,
Oh, I need a piss. I have to
I
go
need a piss. See you
immediately.
later. Oh, what's
I
that?
do.
You're just going for
I
a
do.
piss?
I know I'm going for a piss just outside in this immense forest room, but I do have to walk quite a long way away. So
Oh, I gotta go miles away. I don't want you to see me. Don't want you to see my winkle,
not
especially when it's
until
off,
not until the day
especially when
we're
it's off
married.
duty.
Um,
Uh, and while he's doing that, what is her name? Is it Sylvia? No,
yeah,
No,
bring her,
Leslie.
Angie.
Maggie. I think it's Angie. Okay, right, I got it wrong. She's like, "Oh, I'm going to listen to this tape while he's gone. Who knows how long he's going to be?" And I'm
Didn't have phones
unsure
then, did you? It
if
wasn't like, oh, hang on, I've got a moment where I'm not directly
it's
interacting with
true.
someone. I'll just check my phone. It's like, put an album
Bloody
on,
hell.
shall I?
But I'm confused by this because is it like the song is making her feel kind of horny because there's got like Sammy Kerr's spirit in it and it's like doing it, or
I
or
figured it was
what?
just his ghost was coming out of it because
Because the ghost is a bit like Ghostbusters when the ghost like gives what's his name uh
oh, it gives
Dan Aykroyd
Dan Aykroyd a gobby.
a gobby and he goes, "This is totally normal." It's a bit like that, and I like the effects in this bit with like the green sort of rotoscoped stuff and
The green sort of mist, ethereal mist. That
yeah.
I mean, the biggest mystery of this program is how our clothes actually fasten, like because they come off in such a weird way.
It's Velcro. She's got one of those Velcro outfits. She knows she's going to get busy with her boyfriend. She don't want anything getting in the way. Clasps, zips, buttons. It's all Velcro. It all comes off at the front, like that. You can rip it all off in one go if you like.
And she's basically over the course of a minute or so stripped completely naked by this ethereal green mist, and she is loving it. She's
She's
loving each
enjoying it.
day as
Yeah,
if it's the last.
it's not that she's creeped out by it. I wonder what's going on in her brain. She's thinking, I'm listening to this lovely weird music. It sounds kind of backwards, but I feel great about it, and I'm suddenly nude. But when she opens her eyes, what is there to greet her?
Horrible goblin.
Horrible giant scary goblin man.
Horrible scary goblin man who's in this film for just this like
I
literally
feel like if you make
1 second clip.
that thing, you need to reuse it in some instances. You know what I mean? Um,
Maybe it was in another film. They just happened to have access to it.
can we borrow that bloody goblin for a couple of scenes? Yeah, of course you can.
All right, you can
Um,
only use it because this is the big reveal. This horrible goblin is the big reveal of our film. Second or less of screen time is all I'm going to have you. Fine.
that's what you're allowed to do. She screams. Tim comes running back, and when he grabs her, he's like, "Jesus, she's passed out. She's nude. She's got the headphones on. What the
And her
hell's
ears
going
are
on?"
melted off.
And when he grabs the headphones, her ears come off melted as well. I was gonna say, is she someone that Sammy really wants to get revenge on? I mean, I guess so.
She
Sorry,
was she
Eddie would
was
really want.
she was very rude to him at the pool.
Yeah, I guess so. But you'd kind of want to get everybody else first. I feel that she's a bit lower on the list. Ears melted off. Tim, the first thing he thinks of doing, drive into Eddie's house, somehow making a correlation between the tape that had been, because he checks the tape as well. Like, I don't
Yeah,
think he
the
would.
first thing he thinks to check, he's like, hang on, what music has
Hang on.
bloody melted her ears off?
What music has melted her ears off? An album of ear melters.
What
Yeah, and he
music would
goes.
do that to you, Ben? What music would melt your ears off
What, a good way or a bad way?
in a
Because I
bad
like
way?
I like I like to describe things as being like ear melters or face melters,
When you put
in a
ear
good
melters,
way.
so basically
I would.
something that might feel nice at the time, like you're being titted up in the car by a ghost, but then would have melted your ears off.
It feels nice at the time, and then you go, "Hang on a minute, who is this? Oh, for fuck's sake, is this person?" I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I've ever enjoyed something like that. Maybe someone who's a bit of a wrong one, where you go like, "Oh, bloody hell, this is an absolute banger. Who's this?"
Chris
Oh,
Brown, oh fuck!
well, close. I was about to say Lost Prophets. I was about to say Lost Prophets. This is an absolute banger. Who could it be? Oh, for fuck, Chris Brown, for God's sake, ears melted off. Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah, you listened to. I don't
Ears
remember the
melted
names of
off
any of their songs now.
from embarrassment.
Oh,
What,
and
Lost
not just
Prophets?
melted off, all sticky as well.
Did you say Lost Prophets? You don't
Yeah,
remember
I
any
don't
of their
remember any
songs?
of the songs now.
Last Train Home.
Last
That was
Train
probably the
Home.
most
You listening
popular
to
one.
that?
Yeah. Rooftops. That was pretty awful. What I'm
Oh, I've
glad
got the
about,
album, have you? You know all those
what
songs.
what I'm glad about when it comes to Lost Prophets is, even though I was kind of into them for a bit, by the time that last album came out, I was like, "Ah, it's not doing it for me anymore." I think I knew. I didn't know. I would have reported it. Horrible. Carry on. So first thing
So
Tim does, goes straight to Eddie's house, starts shouting Weinbauer when it sounds like white power. I was this one confused. Someone makes a correlation between that tape and his girlfriend's ears getting melted off, which makes no sense. And this is when you can first see that he's a little bit unsure and a little bit scared because he says, "Just leave me alone, Eddie."
I want to stop melting my girlfriend's ears off, please.
Oh, I know I tried to murder you, but please don't melt my girlfriend's ears. And that's
Yeah,
it. And then
he says that. That's when Eddie goes inside and he puts the cassette on to talk to Sammy Kerr and went, just jack it in now, mate. Actually, this is really serious.
really serious. I've heard you melt someone's ears off, which I'm dead against.
I said nail them, not melt their ears off.
Don't melt their bloody ears. And Sammy's obviously like, "Oh, it's too bloody late. I've had a taste for it now. I'm feeling like a right murderous bastard."
And this is when he comes out, right? He appears from the speakers and goes, "Yeah, I'm alive now,
Yeah.
actually."
So he comes like out of the speaker, it's like an amp, like a big stack, and his face comes out, and then he like travels through electricity essentially. I mean, again, they don't really make any correlate. They don't really understand why he travels through. Do you know what I mean? If he died, been electrocuted or something, that could have been interesting. He got electrocuted, now he travels through electricity. Who knows? But yeah, he comes out and obviously hides when Eddie's mum appears, and Eddie, who's fuming about the whole situation, smashes his brand new hi-fi to bits, and his mum says, "Oh, what are you doing to your hi-fi?" And he goes, "I wanted a new one anyway." It's like, you spoilt brat.
You could have said like there was a spider on it. You could have said it caught fire because it was a
Yeah,
bit smoky from a man coming out of it.
it was. And then Sammy says, "Leslie, Leslie," like she's the next one. I'm like, hang on a minute. I've clearly got beef with Tim and all his jock mates. Why are you going after just the ladies? Why are you just going after old melt ears herself? And now Leslie, that seems unfair. And obviously, Sammy Kerr, or at least a ghost of Sammy Kerr, is a twat. That's what we're made to see, isn't it? Don't we? Is it around about now that we see the first bit of Ozzy Osbourne on the talk show talking
Yeah.
about
What,
metal
what
music?
a brilliant cameo. Yeah, he's got him on the tail. He's going, now I'm going to do everything in my power to get rid of him.
Eradicate metal music. And what happened to nice love songs? Just a lovely little love song.
I love the bit when he reads it out. He goes, I'm going to. Yeah, he like goes, listen, if I may read a passage, some of these lyrics. It's only a game, so put up a real good fight. I'm going to be snookering you tonight. Disgusting.
Snookering you tonight. Big break? What does that possibly mean? How disgraceful.
I mean, this came up on a quiz recently. If you've never listened to the theme tune to Big Break, also known as the snooker song by the man who invented the Wombles music, Mike Batt,
Oh.
the most sexually aggressive song I've ever heard.
Oh God. Wow. Never thought of it like that.
No rap artist has the least of it. I mean, that's just the bit about the main bit. There is a second verse which is about pinks and reds and
Oh no. Pinks and browns.
no browns, thank God. But like it talks about pinks and reds going to your head, and then talking about resist me and very very like it doesn't fly today. But yeah, meanwhile, Ozzy Osbourne is livid with snooker in you tonight,
Yeah,
and he
it's a
says,
very like
"What happened to
sexual.
I love you?"
Whatever happened to I Love? It's a very like sexual song, and clearly it's been written just for this film because I didn't recognize it. But maybe
Yeah,
it's a Sammy Kerr. Maybe it's a Sammy Kerr song.
the real lyrics are just like bloody got a stiffy mate. I'm gonna get it up you.
It's essentially that's it. That's all those songs kind of relate to. I'm gonna have sex with you if I like.
Yeah, and your buddy think it's ace as well.
And we've got loads of double entendres about music and various other things, about you feeling it, about you taking it hard, screaming till you want more.
Yeah, and he's going to be like, listen, these things, listen, is that I don't want songs about bums. I don't want songs about willies. I don't want any of this. What happened? Whatever happened to a lovely fashion song?
What happened to good old fashioned love song? Like, it's cold outside when somebody who doesn't want someone else to leave is clearly coercing them into staying no matter what happens. And she's trying to leave, but I'm going, just stay, bloody stay. That's a lovely song.
Yeah.
Totally normal.
Ozzy Osbourne is into it, and he's like, no, look, I'm gonna resist this. Ozzy Osbourne comes back a little. In fact, maybe he's been on once before, and he comes on again now when Sammy Kerr comes out, and it looks like Sammy Kerr has reached in the telly and like honked his nose.
This is pretty cool, right? I kind of like this effect. I feel like it needed more of this because we even see a little bit later on a report that like he's been taken ill or like something has happened to him. Ozzy Osbourne's character.
Catch that bit
because he reaches in and kind of just like smears him off screen. Like he kind of turns into like weird static, and his face goes all like. And then later on, they say, like, "Oh, sorry, the Reverend isn't with us." After he just inexplicably,
had his face smeared.
Had his face smushed. That kind of happens. That was cool. And obviously, a little bit later, he reaches in and pulls some old woman out of the TV. We'll
this is the next bit because so after Sammy Kerr has disappeared, because again, this is like trying to start a fight when it's like, oh, you're lucky the dinner lady's there actually because I can't fight you now. But like,
can't fight when your mum's listening.
Yeah, bring your mum in here. I'll kill her off. I'll get rid of her as well because your mum does your.
And then there's a really annoying thing where he's like going, "Don't come in, mum," and then Sammy Kerr's like doing his voice, going, "Yeah, come in, mum." No, don't come in, mum. Are you all right in there? You sound absolutely mad.
Yeah, but then when the mum does come in, Sammy goes, "Oh, fuck this. I've overplayed my hand. I don't want the mom to see me." He disappears.
I've taken it too far. So yeah, basically Eddie is like grounded for Halloween because of the stuff he did to the smashed his thing to bits.
Yeah, I guess so. He's grounded for Halloween.
So potentially he says to Roger, go and get the cassette tape which is a copy of the album. It's in Tim's car, which he doesn't really know that, does he? Because Tim might have destroyed, like, we don't know, do we? He didn't destroy it for some reason. But Roger goes and steals the tape, but rather than destroying it like Eddie asked him to, he plays it on his own stereo system. Now, did you notice something in this living room scene that was out of the ordinary?
I don't remember what was out of the ordinary.
There's a bloody boom mic in this scene.
Is there?
Yeah. It's more than once as well. Like it's the same like wide shot of the room, but it happens more than once. You see the boom in the corner. I only knew to look out for it because I saw a comment about it. But yeah, he plays it, and then obviously Sammy comes to life in front of Roger, and essentially turns his attentions to Roger now, doesn't he? Where he's just like, I want you to play this tape, at the school dance, at the Halloween ball. And if you don't do it, I'll kill you, just like this. And then the TV
Slaps a woman out of the TV.
pulls a woman out of a TV, and she immediately turns into like a mummified corpse. And honestly, I loved it. I thought it was great. It felt very
That's the best part.
Fred.
One of the best
It
parts
felt
of the
very
film. Turns into like a little.
it felt very Freddy,
Yeah,
which is what I liked about it. And again, it just made me think how much better this film could have been if the character of Sammy, because the character of Sammy Kerr is very like, oh, I'm gonna get revenge on these people. I'm so angry, and I'm gonna kill you if you don't do it. Like it's quite one dimensional. I just feel like it needed something else. Like maybe, yeah, maybe he had like died on purpose in order to come back as this, and
just
now
a
he's
ghost
like,
that can yank people through the telly. Who would
yeah,
you
or
yank through a
maybe
telly and
like
incinerate if there anyone you see on telly that you're like, oh, if I could reach in that screen and pull you
loose
through?
women, get them all out. 1, 2, 3, 4.
What, even
Get them all
Birmingham's
out.
Jamelia?
Oh, not Jamelia. I didn't know she was on it. Denise
Oh,
Welsh, the one whose mum is whose son is in the 1975. Get her out. Get all the ones out who are just always going. They're always playing devil's advocate. They go, some horrible thing has happened, but haven't we thought about it from the other person's point of view? Get them out. Dead.
you just
Dead.
you just Jamelia and Stacey Solomon left behind.
Oh,
Um,
well, I wouldn't want to kill Stacey Solomon. Not in a million years. They can stay
um,
behind. And
so
Jamelia,
they can not be
hell
pulled out.
yes.
Who else? Who else would I get? Oh, can you imagine if that was in the lockdown days? Old Boris on the telly every day. Bloody
Boris. Joe Wicks doing bloody living room gym workouts. Get out! I'm joking. Not Joe Wicks. He did it. It was a good thing. Yeah.
You could
Maybe a
reach.
little
I
bit.
mean, you couldn't just pull people out and burn them up. You could also just pop it in, like, you could put your hand in if you were Sammy Kerr, just with a comb, fix his hair. Couldn't you be like?
Could you pull out people that you're a fan of, that you want to be your new best friend?
I mean, if the film has taught us anything, is they will become like a burnt up dog poo by the
Yeah, that's
time you
true.
pulled it out.
You wouldn't want to risk it. You wouldn't want to risk it. So yeah, essentially, Sammy now says to Roger that you need to do this, otherwise I'll kill you. And then Roger does exactly that. To which Eddie, how does Eddie find out? Oh yeah, that's it. Leslie calls him from the dance and
Says he not
says,
coming because of my outfit's unraveling, coming
"Oh
apart.
yeah, she does say that. She says my outfit's unraveling," and he's like, "Huh?"
What do you reckon she's dressed as?
I don't know. It's shit, whatever it is. It just looks like a load of
Really,
old tat.
really high ponytail and just a sparkly dress. I couldn't
Yeah.
recognize it as any type of character.
To be fair, Halloween outfits in this scene, shite. Like proper carrier bag on the head scenarios.
There's one
like,
skeleton then.
But they're awful. Like, sometimes in a film when it's Halloween, you're like, oh, awesome. Everyone's really put some effort in. It's like the budget of the film was in the bin by the time they filmed this scene. And just went, right, that's it.
And there's
Shite.
the one there's like a teacher with a fake glasses and nose going, quiet now, please.
That is awful. That's terrible. Like bloody Groucho Marx. What are you dressing up as for this? I've just stuck a fake nose and glasses on. Pathetic. You're supposed to be setting a good example here.
And now it's a metal band that isn't banned, and then how does the lead singer of the metal band get got?
So I think he just gets zapped off. But first of all, Eddie realizes what song is playing in the background, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And he goes, "What is that music?" Leslie says, "Just something Roger put on." Okay, and he leaves. Roger, you stupid motherfucker! Starts running. I think he just runs to
So
school.
he gets into his car, doesn't he? And then Sammy Kerr.
He is the most mad driver I've ever seen in my life. The first time he drives his car, he is driving like first of all, he's
in F-Zero.
Like he's never driven before. But secondly, like he's scared of everything. Like, what's that? I got to turn left. Ah! Smashing into things. The windscreen is like flat on. It's pathetic. And essentially a band get on stage like, oh, here's your entertainment for the evening. It's this band. The lead singer, I think, just gets suddenly like zapped off.
Does the hand come out of the amplifier and just pull him in and replace him.
That's it. So he goes over to the amp, and it looks like he's like tuning or something. He starts playing a couple of strings.
Who didn't
and
let
then
that
hand
band have
comes
like a
out.
session to tune their instruments before they put them on stage?
Yeah, get your bloody sound check on. Pulled him in, and then the guitar goes flying, and it gets caught by Sammy Kerr.
What a good stagecraft!
And then he comes down. Great stagecraft. What was I was confused by this because I was like, is he starts playing and the rest of the band just knows what he's playing? It's like when people start singing in a musical and everybody knows the words. This is like the band just go, yeah, I know that. I'll play that.
It's like
Maybe it's
Marty
a Sammy.
McFly, isn't it? It's like the end of the yeah, the end of Back to the Future.
Maybe it's a Sammy Kerr song, and they're aware. But also, as far as we're made to believe, Eddie is an outsider because he listens to metal. However, this school was perfectly happy to allow a metal act or metal band or some sort of rock band play as like the main entertainment for their school dance.
And they know the words.
You know what I mean? What was that?
You know the words. They start doing like a stomp and saying rock.
Yeah, he starts
rock,
punching, rock, and or roll. Everybody rock and roll, man. It's proper like yeah, it's proper bad. But yeah, this sequence with Sammy Kerr, I guess is reminiscent of like Carrie in a way, isn't it? Where
as it starts off going quite well, everyone's enjoying the music at first, but then he starts zapping people.
But so Tony Fields, who plays Sammy Kerr, is great. Like when he gets going, he's
that
got
big spin he does. He like jumps off the thing and he spins like
it's like a combination of it's like Freddie Mercury, Iggy Pop, and what's his flavor from Motley Crue. It's great. Like it's really good. It's just it's and as soon as he starts something like shredding on the guitar. A front man who's also the lead guitarist. Oh yeah. And he starts zapping people.
Starts zapping people until he like zaps one guy till he disappears.
I think a few of them disappeared on there. That's what I was confused. Like people were getting zapped, and it took about 6 people getting zapped before everyone started screaming and running away.
Yeah, and Eddie's trying to go there, but unfortunately, Sammy Kerr is also controlling his car. He gets in there and says, "Oh, I'm going to go to the dance. I'm going to put a stop to this." And Sammy Kerr comes on the radio like, "You're going nowhere."
That's right. You're going, got you for 3 minutes. Sorry, a couple of elements of this confused me. I didn't realize Sammy Kerr was controlling the car. I thought Eddie was shit. I thought it was one of these scenarios where it's like, well, I've never driven before, but I've got to get to this destination, so I better put my foot down. That's how it works.
No, yeah, Sammy is driving the car and he's like controlling it, and that's how he manages to eventually get the tape out, which allows him to stop the car, and he's like precariously parked on the edge of a precipice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
So he has to run to the school, but by the time he gets there, there's people being zapped left, right, and center. They go inside.
It's a war zone. It's a war zone.
If only what could make it worse is that Leslie goes, she nips for a wee while the music is on, and then Horrible Tim comes in.
She doesn't just nip for a wee. She goes like gets changed, like brushing her hair. She's like completely different. It's not just having a wee, she's having a whole outfit change.
She changes out of her outfit, and then Tim comes in, and unfortunately, his girlfriend, being in the hospital with her ears melted off, has made him into a right old creeper. Because he's like, at first, I was like, okay, is he just concerned, but you're being a bit aggressive about it? But he's like, actually, can I cop off with you?
Yeah, he's like, I'm well into you because your ears aren't melted off.
It took this to happen. It took this to happen for me to realize that the thing I'm attracted to is an unmelted set of ears.
But yeah, so Eddie kind of rushes and comes to the rescue essentially, doesn't he? But then but when it happens, Tim gets killed by Sammy, doesn't he? Sammy appears.
Yeah. So it starts happening. He's like, goes, Tim, come on now. Do come and leave with us. We've got to turn the breakers off. And then Tim is like, nah, not going anywhere with you. And then he gets strangled by Sammy Kerr.
Sammy Kerr gets he strangles him, which I'm fine with. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, electrocutes him to bits.
Yeah, and then as they're trying to escape, they try and like cut the power to the school. They can't do it. Sammy turns up, but then Roger, who's at this point, Roger's feeling devastated that essentially he's played the music and loads of people in the school are dead, and he's like feeling really guilty about it. So he comes over and says,
He comes in like Han Solo at the end. Is like, let me do something right. I can save the day.
let me do something right, and he cuts off the breaker. Does he like get electrocuted and like thrown backwards?
He gets electrocuted and thrown backwards, and we have a brief moment of, Roger. He was the best of it. No, he's alive. It's fine.
He's alive. Bloody hell, rest in peace, Roger. And he's like, I'm fine actually. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah, he like examines him and goes, he's dead. And he's like, no,
dead.
no, I'm not.
So then they go back to Eddie's. They go back to Eddie's, I guess, to
They go back. No, they realize that they've stopped the music from being played. They've stopped the power at the school, but they have to get rid of all the versions. They've already destroyed the tape at the school, but they realize that Gene Simmons at the radio station has the last copy.
Because they hear like an automated playback of Nuke's recorded voice. I think that they paid for him to be in a cameo, but they hadn't imagined that they were going to return to him. And they're like, bloody hell, he's on tour now. He's on tour with Kiss. We can't get him back. He's going to have to essentially die off screen, right?
So they go to get to the thing. They're never going to make it because it's literally 2 minutes to midnight.
Yeah. Sammy attacks them in the house as well. And this is when they jam his hand in the toilet.
Yes, they go to get the mum's car. They go to get the mum's car.
I'm in my mum's car.
And the first thing when they do when they get in is bust all of the electronics because Sammy's making everything. They break the microwave, they break the toaster, they break all of the radios. But what they forgot
forever. There's like a radio in every room.
Yeah, what they forgot was Chekhov's shower radio that was in the film at the very beginning.
Oh yeah, it was.
And
very good.
And Sammy gets into the house via Chekhov's shower radio, although what he didn't account for was the toilet.
He didn't account for the toilet, and that gets his hand jammed down the toilet.
He doesn't. They don't push him into the toilet, do they? He just missteps and accidentally gets his hand down there.
So they throw like a sort of. There's some sort of like cabinet or something. They throw it at him, and he kind of like awkwardly stumbles over it, and falls hand first into the toilet. Jesus!
And he's getting electrocuted, so that's kind of draining his energy. And they flush the toilet to get him drained a bit further, and that gives them the motivation. What do they say to him? They do like a little one-liner.
We said a little bit later when he's in the car. Eddie says to him, "Oh, you're looking a little flushed."
Yeah.
Very, very silly.
Looking a little flushed. They get the mum's car. Well, the mom is out for a date, by the way, because the mom has to be taken out of the equation.
That's right. So she's out for a date.
With Rambo.
With random man dressed as Rambo. Yeah. That was pretty good. So they rush to the radio station essentially, and it's a bit convoluted this bit because it's like, they're trying to destroy the tape, and then Eddie ends up taking Sammy off elsewhere while Leslie goes in to destroy the tape.
Yeah, so the ultimate plan is they have a kiss at this point because all right, we're in a high pressure situation, so we love each other now, all right, okay? So now,
yeah, so it works. When inevitably, I don't think it will last. Very, very different. I feel like their lives will take them in different directions.
I don't know. I think after this event, I think that Eddie's probably not going to listen to metal music anymore.
I'm not into it anymore. I'm only going to listen to the Eurythmics from now on. Okay?
Only the Eurythmics. I want some House Martins on.
Oh, lovely. Oh, lovely. Ideal.
So he his plan, because Sammy is protecting the final tape. Gene Simmons has been electrocuted to death.
Yeah.
And he says, he's protecting the tape at all costs. And he's like, makes sense. But count to 100 and then go in and wreck it. And he just drives off in the police car because a policeman gets a policeman who goes to taser as they're leaving the house after the flushing. He goes to taser Sammy, and Sammy grabs the taser wires and electrocutes the policeman much that only his shoes remain.
Oh yeah, of course. Just shoes with like smoke coming out of them.
No.
But that's the thing. This character does so many silly over the top things. I feel like if the performance was just a bit more tongue in cheek, some great one-liners, a very playful nature to him, I think it would have been a lot more enjoyable. But he kind of just grabs it and goes, "You're electrocuted."
There you go.
But yeah,
Hitler goes,
essentially,
ah.
he lures him into the police car and then drives the police car off of a bridge into the water. First of all, I was thinking dead. I'm like, who's surviving that? But no, he's all right. He just comes out like, oh bloody hell, sorry. Oh god, nearly drowned
And
then.
then, even though Sammy has been shown to be able to be in two places at once, it has distracted him from being able to be in the radio station. So
Yeah, it just felt
Leslie
like
can just get in and fuck
it
him up.
wasn't it wasn't a great like final showdown. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it needed something else other than that. Um, but yeah, it does kill him. That's it. He's destroyed by falling in the
It
water.
does end
And he
very abruptly, doesn't it? He's like, yeah,
yeah,
got him.
and he
Now
go
we're
and
a
he goes
couple.
goes back to the radio station where Leslie's just been waiting, I guess, and that's it. Sammy Kerr's dead. The world is saved. The ramifications of the night's events. Who knows
Who
who's gonna
knows where that will lead us to? How's that changed society?
who
Maybe
knows who's
everyone in
gonna be in
the town will love metal music now.
Mate, probably not. Everyone's going to be even worse on it. They're going to be absolutely fuming. So there we go. That is it. That is trick or treat. Have you got any name game? Considering it could be quite easy to do name game, but I still struggled.
Yeah, I've got a couple for you. What's the synopsis today?
Synopsis is for trick or treat, not trick or treat, trick or treat. A bully teenage boy is wait, I'll try and make it a bit more simple. Discovers that he's the only one who can stop heavy metal ghost Sammy Kerr from making a comeback from beyond the grave.
Okay, so a teenage boy tries his best to stop the ghost of Sammy Kerr running riot and knocking on people's houses on the season and either threatening to electrocute them unless they'll take their shoes and socks off so he can have a look because he's a wrong'un.
Trick or feet?
Trick or feet, correct.
Trick or feet. That's very nice. Any more?
Yeah, I got a couple. Have you got any?
All right. I think mine are pretty shit, pretty bad. So you keep giving me yours.
So in this one, a young boy is forced in a deadly game by the ghost of a rock star to identify whether an item that you can't see and he just has to touch with his hands is a construction material or some edible flesh.
Brick
Yeah,
or meat?
brick or meat. Very good.
Brick or meat?
This one, a young boy is forced to confront a rock and roll ghost that has a deadly, deadly naming convention, and he's forced to decide whether the person he will save. Yeah, that's it. The ghost gives him an impossible choice, like Two-Face in Batman Forever, where he says, "Right, you've got to choose who you're going to save. Are you going to save your friend Richard, or this this woman's name, but I've shortened it in a way no one ever would."
Dick or
Dick is fine. I would have also accepted Rick. That's fine.
Rick or Dick? I said Dick because it was more like Batman, wasn't it? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, Dick Grayson, or this woman who is the main antagonist of the Power Rangers, and I've shortened the name in a really inappropriate way.
Trick or Reet? No, Dick
Yeah,
or
Dick
Reet.
or Reet. Dick or Reet.
Reet bad or Reet.
Or Rita. Yeah.
So, a bullied teenage boy is I mean, none of these sound like actual films today, Andy. Let's be obvious. Let's be honest. Heavy metal idol Sam Kerr, he goes up against him in a game of. The only way to defeat him is by running your tongue up and down his face,
So lick.
or just saying hello to him, giving him a handshake.
Lick or greet.
Lick or agree. I told you mine were bad. I'm sorry.
Um,
Okay, one more. Sorry, I'm just bypassing it now. Just get mine out of the way, Andy,
Go
is
on
what I'm
then.
saying. Sammy Kerr goes. Sammy Kerr's got very specific requirements for women he's meeting on Tinder. He'll only give them the time of day if he thinks they're attractive or athletically capable, or if they're very tidy.
Fit or neat?
Fit or neat. That's all he's written. He's just written fit
Fit
or
or
neat.
neat. Those are the
And
two
also
things.
lick or greet them. I did also have tit or feet down, but I don't know how I was going to do that.
Not without getting cancelled. Um, the last one that I have for you today is that in an attempt to fit in at school, Eddie falls in with bad ghost Sammy Kerr. Sammy Kerr gives him two choices to save his life. He's either going to have to go shoplifting or have an affair behind his girlfriend's back.
Nick or cheat.
Nick or cheat, the worst, the two crimes.
You gonna
Petty.
nick or you gonna cheat?
Oh, Sammy
I'll do
Kerr, you
both,
piece
mate.
of shit.
I'm gonna cheat on someone in the supermarket while I'm stealing a fridge strawberry milkshake. Is that it?
That's it, I think. That's
I'm
it for
glad.
this week.
I'm glad. Sorry, I'm not. I didn't enjoy them, but I struggled with that this week. Okay, so now we've got to rate the film. Rate good or rate bad. Pluses and minuses are allowed. I might just jump in there, Andy. Do you know what I mean?
Please do, please do.
I'm feeling in that mood today. I wanted to watch this film for a long time. It felt like it was right up my street. I feel like it's a missed opportunity for like a really good, fun film. I think like it's even like a little bit sleepy tired about halfway through, where I was a bit like, come on then, do something, get on with it. As I've already mentioned, there are a few issues that I find establishing the character of Sammy Kerr early on would have helped. I also feel like the character, I'm not going to have a go at Tony Field's performance because that's not fair. The character should have been written a bit better to make his, to make like, I wanted to understand him more, what his motivation was. And also could have had a little bit more fun with it. And really, there isn't much in the way of blood and guts and gore, is there at all? It's just people getting
No, not
zapped
really.
into nothing. Which kind of, I know it's a horror film, but it didn't have a nasty streak. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it needed a bit of a nasty streak. And the nasty streak should have been Sammy Kerr murdering people regardless of what Eddie's pleas, you know, and then obviously turning on him eventually. And it just peters out, you know? It just kind of right, okay, he travels through electricity for some reason. I guess water will kill him, drive him into the river. It's all over. I feel like a big last stand needed to happen in some way. And even the relationship, Jesus, even the relationship between Sammy and Eddie needed more. It needed a bit more.
Yeah. Very rare that I advocate for a film being longer because this is a nice tight like 90 minutes. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Oh, what was your score? What was your rating?
I think I'm gonna have to go for like a C minus. I'm gonna go as low as a D, but I think a C minus is fair.
All right, you know what? I might be a little bit harsher than Ben. I'm going to go into D territory. I'm going to give this a D plus for the same reasons that you said. I think it's fun. It's got some fun about it. It does have some iconic elements, but what it's missing is I'm missing more puns. The looking a little
Yeah.
flushed. That's too little, too
Oh
late,
yeah.
Eddie. What I
Too little,
need,
too late.
you could have had Eddie Eddie with his version, but you could have had Sammy Kerr saying like, "Oh, I make my music to shock people," and he could have done some electric shocks.
Yeah.
A guitar, they could have called it an axe, and it could have been an axe, and he could have chopped people.
Definitely.
Yeah, he could have done a whole load of.
He could have had some little sharp knives on his little metal hand. I know it's a bit Freddy, but at the same time, like right in someone's eyes, maybe. Yeah, but
Yeah, just
there was
yeah,
no blood and guts, so
it was a missed opportunity to do some more pun work on there with it, have a little bit
yeah.
more fun with it because it's a ridiculous concept already. And go
Exactly.
that
I like
little
that
bit and go that little bit further.
Pulling people through the TV was the best like moment of both times it happened. It was like that's awesome. want to
Yeah,
see
I just
more
feel
of
like
that.
with the whole pulling people through the TV things as well, it's like a weird, it's like a kind of weird power set, but it doesn't fit into the fact that he's a rock musician that's made out of electricity at this point. I feel either like something to do with some kind of television monster
Mm,
could be that, or you need more
yeah,
music. Like you need, it to be a weapon that we have a bit early in the film where the mom is tidying up and he plays the music really loud and it's making her ears ever so sore. Like do those
yeah,
things where you're like exploding people's heads with like incredible things. You mentioned the term face melter for a really like heavy set of riffs on a guitar. Do such good things that you're like
yeah.
melting people's faces off with your guitar when you're doing those
Hell yeah.
things. I think there's some conceptually this is really fun, and I think maybe now get the right group together. I tell you what, um, get this in the hands of the good folks that gave us films such as Book of Monsters, How to Kill Monsters. Get Stuart Spark and the team on this
Oh
to do
yeah.
a new rock thing. Oh, and the writer of that, Paul Butler, who did How to Kill Monsters. He's a Midlands guy. He could get Ozzy back in.
Get Ozzy back in. Yeah, exactly. I've heard he's moving
Get
back to the UK sometime soon, so
Yeah,
it'll be available.
like that would be you could do, I think, with a little bit more fun and a little bit more, and still keeping the same
Yeah.
80s goals of practical effects. You could, I think, what we talk about it a lot, Ben, how sometimes you get horror remakes that aren't necessary. I think Trick or Treat is a
Definitely.
brilliant
And it's
horror
got like
horror remake waiting to happen.
one of the best like titles of a film as well. I mean, I know it's a bit generic, but like it's essential Halloween title, you know? It's just called Trick or Treat. You kind of think, oh great, Halloween movie. Let's
Would you
get
keep the
involved.
title Trick or Treat, or would you go something that evoked the
Yeah,
the rock
you could maybe change it. I don't
death
know.
metal?
Maybe it doesn't need Death Metal's great. Maybe it doesn't need to be a remake. It could just be like a similar concept.
Inspired by, Ben, I'm reaching for my notepad. I'm going to put it on the list of films maybe we should make one day. Death
Death Metal.
Metal, Boo Year's Eve, the two big ones.
That's the two. I like how you're reaching for your notepad, which now has
Yeah.
two things in it. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So, so that is that. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our current patrons. Everybody. I've stopped reading out the whole list now just because I didn't want the outro to be too long. But thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. I wasn't going to say head over to the Facebook group Board of Advisors, but I think we're going to be slowly migrating over towards Discord because I don't think we use that group as much as perhaps we did at one
You
point.
pop in a little thing, and I'll go in, and if anyone does post in there, I'll always go in and give a little nudge, give it a little comment. If we reach a critical mass where we've got all of our folks over there on the Discord, which it's a lovely place. There's lots of lovely chat happening there. So come on over and join us. There
Yeah.
is a link on all the socials. I think, Bennett, you put out like a link on the socials we have that have the
Or if
access
you're not
code.
sure, just give us a DM and we'll send it to you. Because we're also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Horror Hangout Podcast. So next week, brand new release, The Exorcist Believer with Ash Millman. Looking forward to that.
Me too. A little,
Hell yes.
looking
There we
forward to
go.
it.
Enjoy your first week of October. If you're
Keep those
listening.
recommendations coming. Let us know what you're watching. We'll do the same.
Yeah, yes, indeed. There we go then. See you next week.
Bye for now. Bye, little rock and roll hands.
Rock and roll, man. Rock and or roll. Bye.